So, by the way, I know a lot of you... Okay, I'm just going to say I've seen some initial reactions to some of them on Twitter, but, like, that's what people always do. They see things and they have initial, like, major reactions either way, and then a day later, especially content creators, would be like, I don't know, I thought about this more and it's okay. Like, I don't know if that's copium or if initially, like, a lot of people just want to react crazy either way. I'm going to completely disregard every single opinion that I have slightly seen. I have not read any of these. I know Rider of the Apocalypse has to do with the Four Horsemen, which is just sick. We'll get there. Believe me, if I hate it, I'll say it. I don't want to go into it knowing that some of you guys are pissed, because I also think sometimes you guys read stuff and you get way too emotional too fast, and it's not really that bad. Also, shout out Blizzard releasing 12 of these. They've really ramped fast, huh? We were getting like 4 at a time, twice, and then they were like, all right, we'll give you 8. But then they said you were getting 8 in this week in WoW. Right? But then in this week in WoW that we got this week, they didn't even mention how many we were getting. They said, oh, by the way, on March 15th, maybe we'll look at a few more hero talents. But last time this came out, they were like, we're going to look at 8. So I was assuming we were going to get 4 today. And then without even announcing it, they just give us 12 of them, which is insane. So that's super cool. All right, so let's get it. Let's start it out with Deathbringer. Okay, before we read the first thing, let's see if Blizzard has anything interesting here about it. So any dev notes... or any lore summary. Let's see. Deathbringers are the emissaries of death, empowered by the Shadowlands. Their physical strikes and abilities aim for their enemies' souls and vanquish them without mercy. Okay, crazy theme. Oh, before we start this too, I mentioned this in the starting soon screen, but just about all of these hero talents. I've seen criticism of these being like, why is everyone getting so hyped about these? It's basically just like a regular... Hey, Lily. Or Elle, it's okay. It's just basically Blizzard. These are just things that should go at the bottom of everyone's spec tree. But because they can't do that because of the evergreen system, they're doing hero talents instead. I think that this is so much more than that. I think... So first of all, the gameplay, this is not really gameplay related. Like, I think some of these have proven that, like, if you had any doubt of like, oh, hero talents are just whatever, it doesn't matter. Like there are some of these that are going to make your class significantly more fun to play. Like, they're actually sick gameplay wise. But even just theme, I think that hero talents were such a smart idea, because even if it is just extra spec tree points, it's also so heavily theme based. And I think so many people care about WoW theme that are not like constantly giving their opinions on WoW year round. Like, are there Death Knight players? And I read this a little bit where there's like, you know, when we look at Riders later, it's about like the Four Horsemen. Are there people that are Death Knight players that have played Death Knight back in Wrath are going to come back because of Rider of the Apocalypse? I think so. Cool. Like, Dark Ranger or Frostfire Mage. I absolutely think that people are gonna, if they're on the edge of playing it, they're like, holy shit, I want to be a Rider of the Apocalypse. So I think the fact that they basically gave you extra spectry points and are also introducing heavy theme, as I've seen more and more of these, I just think it's a huge W. And I think the closer we get to the expansion, the more people are going to just be talking about this kind of stuff. Let's slam it. Deathbringer. All right, you guys know the test. The very first node so far has been able to rule out or confirm whether it is super insane or really bad. And if it doesn't sell you, most of the time it's somewhere in the mid category. So it's between Blood and Frost. If there's anything I want to see from here, I feel like, and I don't want them to paint you into Breath of Syndragosa, but I think, and this is a real deep cut, but I think there's a world to make Bone Storm more interesting that involves constant runic power generation rather than immediate, used all at once, instant draining. And then I think that Breath needs a lot of work to be more versatile, and I wonder if they're going to address that here with the Blood and Frost Death Knights in the same tree. Reaper's Mark, 2 runes, 1 minute CD. Okay, viciously slice into a soul of your enemy, dealing Shadow Frost damage and applying Reaper's Mark. Okay, each time you deal Shadow or Frost damage, add a stack of Reaper's Mark, and after 12 seconds or reaching 40 stacks, the mark explodes, dealing damage per stack. Reaper's Mark travels to an unmarked enemy nearby if the target dies or explodes below 35. Ooh. And where there are no enemies to travel to... Oh, or explodes below 35% health when there are no enemies to travel to. The explosion cannot occur again on a target for 3 minutes. Wait. Oh, okay, so specifically the Reaper's Mark traveling to a different target or exploding below... Okay, I initially was like... I read that last part, and I'm like, okay, you can't use this on the same target. But no, it's okay. Okay, so it's giving a 1 minute cooldown damage profile spell to Blood and Frost. Let's just remove tanking from the equation real quick, and we'll see how this gets supported later. But just I think it's interesting to just read the first thing, because clearly when they make these, this is the thing, and then all of this supports the thing. There's been a few scenarios, but they're pretty rare so far, when like the first thing's okay, and then something at the bottom makes it 10 times better. This doesn't sound amazing right off the bat. Also, Frost is not really a class that is in need of having like a stronger bit at 1 minute. They are kind of famously a really, really good 1 minute class, or like a little bit less than that. Like they just have really good pillar uptime, especially with the Dragonflight talent tree. Blood tank damage profiles are totally whatever. Like there's usually nothing that is super controversial in that way. Like you look at a tank's damage over the whole fight, you're not ever looking at a tank class to carry swapping to an ad at a certain point or something like that. So basically this is just something you're going to use 2 runes on every minute. And when you're doing damage, which a Frost DK is going to do has a ton of ticks of Frost damage. This is going to stack to 40 stacks extremely fast. And then it's just going to do a big burst of damage. This is not horrible, but I don't know if any... it would surprise me if someone's reading this and they're like, this is sick. This is probably something that needs to be supported a bit. So sometimes it's a little confusing where to go here, because sometimes the middle has like the sauce that makes everything make sense, then the left and right are like supporting things. But let's just go left to right and see what happens. So Reaper's Mark unleashes a dark wave towards your target and back, dealing Shadow Frost damage in both ways to all enemies caught in its path. Okay. I'm trying to think. They're both melee classes, so you're not going to get like hella good value out of this. What's the range on Reaper's Mark? I'm assuming 40. Okay. Wave of Souls crits cause enemy to take 5% increased Shadow Frost damage for 10 seconds, second to 2 times. My only hope for this, both as melee classes, is I hope that this has a really large hitbox. And like if you're in melee range of a bunch of targets and you cast Reaper's Mark on the biggest one, for example, I hope that this wave is big enough to realistically cleave everything in the pack and not have to do any kind of weird positioning to where you're making sure that it's actually the farthest, like every mob is in between you and the target, because that could be just really annoying to play with and very reliant on tank players if you're a DPS and not if you're not playing Blood. So that just something but they could fix that instantly. I mean, that sounds fine. So basically this is just going to make it even more of a stronger 1 minute, right? Because like everything else is going to take more damage from your spells after. You're going to be doing 10% more dam. And this could also just hit really hard itself. This is pretty good. It also gives it more of an AoE profile. Here we go. We have Shuttered Soul. Reaper's Mark explosion causes a piece of the target's soul to tear out and spiral outwards, dealing 10% of the explosion's damage to enemies it passes through. Okay. This looks like the visuals of this could be insane. Enemies hit by this effect deal 5% reduced fizz damage to you for 10 seconds. Okay, that second part is just like a blood thing. So it's going to make it more of like a DR as well. That's like a completely irrelevant DR. For whatever it's worth, but it's fine. If anything, if you're making stuff for Blood, I think in either of the Blood trees, it would be smart to have... If there's anything that Blood really needs... Actually, this is so hard to deal with because, again, it would make it super OP. I'm always saying, like, Blood DK's biggest fault is they need something that allows them to, like, be tankier in a pull until they get into their rhythm. But that would also make Blood DK just, like, the best class of all time, right? You would... Imagine a Blood DK. Like, a Blood DK, once it, like, gets going, and if you play Blood DK, you know what that means. You can't die. The difficulty, if you play correctly, the difficulty is getting into that flow, like, when you're starting a pull. Getting threat and getting tanky enough to get into your flow is so... But, like, if they were to give you something that, like, bridged that gap, they would also just never die to anything, right? Either way, fine so far. Looks like they didn't miss the mark on this having some AoE toolkit. Also, this is going to kind of help Frost and Mythic Plus a little bit. So Frost outside of Breath, well, Breath is like theoretically a sick dungeon talent if your tank constantly chains combat and you can keep it up forever. But I think everyone who's ever tried this or realizes that like practical is different than theoretical, that just doesn't happen, and it's a huge problem. So Frost usually tries to do something like a Blit in dungeons. Like, it should be a little bit more consistent, right? But then that never really... A Blit's always like a bunch of tiers below other things. Giving you something where it's realistically you're gonna have a little buff on the pack on a 1 minute cooldown. 1 minute cooldowns in a dungeon environment are fantastic, right? So this is definitely, just profile wise, really, really good for Frost in dungeons. Blood DKs have been actually doing decent AoE damage this whole expansion. So I don't know if they need it that much, but still interesting. Keep going. Reaper's Mark cost is reduced by 1 rune, and its cooldown is reduced by 50%. Okay, so the... so Okay, so the first choice node here is this happens twice as often and costs half as much. Okay, so the other part of this choice node, if it doesn't do that, better be absolutely insane. Reaper's Mark now. This is so weird. This is the most powerful node on the entire tree so far, and it's a choice node. Reaper's Mark now explodes at 50 stacks. And the first Scythe of the Exterminate has a 100% increased chance to apply Reaper's Mark. Okay, so we don't know what the fuck that means. That's got to be this, right? The first Scythe of Exterminate. All right, let's time to read Exterminate, right? And then we'll go back to that. After Reaper's Mark explodes, your next Marrowrend or a Blit costs no runes, summons 2 Scythes to strike your enemies. Ooh, I kind of fuck with this. The first Scythe strikes your target for Fizz damage, has a 15% chance to apply Reaper's Mark, and the second Scythe strikes all damage around your target for Shadow Flame damage. So far, I have only read 2 of these, but I really like this. This is cool. So you just get a free Reaper's Mark, which now seems less OP because it's up every 30 seconds. But then also Reaper's Mark now explodes at 50, means you can get a bit, means every use will be 25% stronger at least, right? If you just look at it that way, 40 to 50. And then the first Scythe of Exterminate has a 100% chance to apply Reaper's Mark. So does this chain infinitely? Oh, I see. It does not make the first Scythe of Exterminate have a 100% chance to apply. It increases the chance by 100%, meaning it goes from 15 to 30. I see. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting, but don't you just take Swift End for sure, unless it ruins your... if it makes your rotation clunky or something? I mean, the first one is just single target versus AoE. Yeah. I mean, I like the choice node. I don't think that this choice node is a... The worst choice nodes you can make are you don't take these in different situations and you don't take these for different reasons. You just pick the one that does the most damage. That's not really this. This will definitely change the way you interact with Reaper's Mark a lot. And it also gives you... I wonder if not painful death, but like, I wonder if Exterminate can proc off itself. Like, for example, if you have a 15% chance to apply Reaper's Mark, 100 or 30% with painful death, I'm assuming that will trigger Exterminate again. So you could just kind of RNG into like crazy value, but then like there are certain fights where you know you'll need Swift End at certain points, maybe. I don't know. I think you were probably just going to play the one of these that it sims the most. I think that's true. But I think the question provided to you is more interesting than that, even though that might be the way you solve it. I kind of like this. I think I need to play with it, but I don't hate this immediately. There's a lot of other choice nodes that are a lot worse than this. Yeah, I mean, it's Gamba versus consistency. I mean, could you imagine painful death RNG? I mean, you could, if Reaper's Mark is strong, I mean, you could absolutely pop off with, pretty sure you'd still take Swift End right now, but either way. Blood Fever. Your Blood Plague has a chance to deal 30% increased damage as Shadow Frost, and your Frost Fever has a a chance to deal 30% increased damage as Shadow Frost. Is that on application or every tick? And I'm pretty sure it's every tick. And the reason why is it's just giving you some extra... It's basically just juicing up your... Is it juicing up your Reaper's Mark? So I'm assuming like your Blood Plague is ticking, it's ticking, and then it procs, and it's going to do 2 sources of damage. It's going to tick for Blood Plague, but then it's also going to do that extra tick called Blood Fever, probably. And I imagine that both of them give you a stack on your Reaper's Mark. So it's making it explode faster, and it's giving you more value with your stacks. And maybe there's more synergy later. Reaper's Mark Explosion deals up to 30% increased damage based on your target's missing health and applies Soul Reaper to targets below. Ooh. I don't think Soul Reaper, as far as I could tell, Soul Reaper isn't as good as it used to be. I remember DK's telling me that yesterday because like Soul Reaper used to literally make, at least on Holy DK, is the best execute in the game. I'm not currently sure how it stands for Frost. Plus, I also think the bottom of the DK class tree is still a little problematic. Hopefully it gets looked at in the War Within. That is fantastic if Soul Reaper is good. And you also don't need to take Soul Reaper for this to work, right? So it's not like pushing you into a talent. Okay, I like that. Down here, while Icy Talons is active, your abilities that spend runic power deal Shadow Frost damage. So Blood, Marron, and Heartstrike have a 20% chance to... Oh, wait, there's actually... Okay, let's back up a second. So I'm assuming, does this change the damage or is it doing extra? It changes the damage, right? You just do Shadow Frost damage with your spells rather than, right? Do you think it's going to change your animations? That was one thing that really sold me. I'm not usually a art or theme guy within WoW, but in Aberrus, I loved all the Shadow Flame shit. Like, I just thought that purple and red combo just looked so cool. So I wonder if while Icy Talon, if Dark Talons, while Icy Talons is active, your abilities that spend runic power deal Shadow Frost damage. I wonder if that'll actually alter the appearance of your abilities slightly, because that has kind of looked really cool in the past. Either way. And just in general, Heartstrike and Marrow Rend have a 20% chance to increase the max stacks of an active Icy Talon by 1 up to 2 times. And consuming Killing Machine or Rhyme has a 20% chance to increase the maximum stacks of Icy Talons up to 2 times. Okay? And then Wither Away is the choice node with this. Blood Plague deals its damage in half the duration, and the second Scythe of Exterminate applies Blood Plague. Okay, so when you're proccing Reaper's Mark, it's going to be putting up your dots again, so you don't have to Blood Boil, and the dots you're putting up by Blood Boil are doing double damage. How much damage does Blood Plague do? I haven't played Blood this expansion. How much is Blood Plague a blaster? Like, is that doing a lot of your AoE damage? It's not the majority, it's a dot, right? So okay, so I mean, it sounds like this will be pretty strong. But you kind of need resets, or at least you need to play Swift End. I mean, Painful Death would kind of make this... Well, I mean, you're blood boiling anyway, so I don't know if that would even matter. It wouldn't, like... I'm like, the only way I'm thinking about this is, like, is Wither Away going to feel bad if, like, your Blood Plague's falling off? That's not really how blood plays. And then for Frost, Frost Fever deals its damage. And, okay, the first one is way more interesting. Actually, I don't even know if I like either of these. I think this one's kind of... Unless it changes the animations to be really cool. The second one of these, like Wither Away, seems like they had a decent idea for blood, and then they tried to apply it to Frost, and I feel like that's just really stinky. I mean, I guess all it's doing is it's saying in both of them, regardless of the Exterminate applying Frost Fever thing, it's just saying your dots deal double damage, even though you put them up again permanently. It's okay. And then, okay, whatever. I didn't like that much. It's fine. Shadow Frost damage applies... perfect. This makes all of this make sense now. Shadow Frost damage applies double stacks to Reaper's Mark and quadruple stacks when it's a critical strike. Rhyme, and then this makes Rhyme Empowered Howling Blast deal Shadow Frost damage and Blood Boil deal Shadow Frost damage. Okay, so this is much more synergistic with this. And again, I wonder if Blood Boil will look different that it's Shadow Frost. And I'm kind of looking forward to that. And with these being so heavy theme-based, I think they could do that, and I hope it looks really cool. Okay, so that makes this make a lot more sense. Or this, I think. Where is it? No. Okay. You're gonna get stacks of this for sure, big time. A lot of it. I think Frost is going to get way higher stacks of this because, like, Frost just constantly does ticks of this damage, like way more than Blood does. Okay, so this looks like it's the damage reduction node. I have no opinion on this from tanks. So when I make this defensive argument, I often see tanks push back and they're like, no, tanking has never felt this good before, right? I'm there with you. Cool. I'm not talking about tanks. Tanks are kind of their own thing. For healers and DPS players, the defensiveness in this game has gotten super out of control through resilience and avoidance, and more importantly, through the class tree giving you just way too many defensive options. Everyone's seen what's happened to Mage this expansion, which is completely insane, but even classes like Mistweaver Monk went from having to choose between Dampen Harm, Diffuse Magic, and Healing Elixir to getting all of them and Fort Brew. That happening to the entire game, certainly some classes more than others, has vastly increased the problem to where Blizzard's only way of challenging you is trying to one-shot your character, and that's super annoying for players to just have to know whether they're going to get one-shot and press the button ahead of time versus a much more fluid, reactionary, peripheral vision view of your health bar and making decisions after you've taken damage in the past. The defensive power creep in this game is out of control. They need to nerf it, and I'm not going to mention this for the rest of the day because I'm going to look at 11 other trees, but just seeing classes gain more defensiveness is a huge, like, nuclear warning going off. Like, there's just like an alarm going off that hopefully they're aware that this could be a big problem. I'm gonna make sure to drink water. I'm gonna forget. Okay, that being said, there is a defensive imbalance in the game at the moment. I would say last expansion it was more, there were more than a few classes that were horrible, a bunch of classes that were average, and then a few classes that were great. Now it's weird where, like, more than a few classes are unbelievably OP, and they also happen to randomly be playing Verse, which again, Verse is just such a huge problem in PvE. And then there's not nearly as many bad classes defensively. Like Ret Paladins were one of the worst defensive classes in Shadowlands. They are significantly better now, right? I mean, Red Paladins are probably one of the tankiest classes in the game. Hunters were super squishy in Shadowlands. Hunters got major defensive buffs. I don't, like, they're not nearly as strong as Red Paladins, but they are certainly just right within average defensiveness. If you think Hunters are squishy, you're wrong. Shamans are still a little down in the mud. I think there is room to give classes defensiveness in the tree. I just think it's going to be a problem if they're just like, well, every class needs a defensive node, because that's just not true. And that's my last time I'm going to rant on this today, but you get my point. Death's Bargain. When you summon a damaging effect equal to 20% of your maximum health, you instantly cast Death Pact at 50% effectiveness. May only occur once every 2 minutes. Death Pact stinks, so that's not that good, which I guess is good for my argument before. When a Reaper's Mark explodes, the cooldowns of this effect and Death Pact are reduced by 5 seconds. Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to instantly cast it regardless of whether it's on cooldown or not. It's just going to go off. And it's also like not going to happen when you're low HP. It could happen even from 100 to 75, so it could be completely useless. This could actually be bad. Like, you could take a big hit of damage and then Death Pact casts, which gives you like a healing absorb. And then you actually... and then like now you're in trouble. Anyways, let's read the next one. Each rune spent reduces the magic damage you take by 2%. And each rune generated reduces the physical damage you take by 2% for 5 seconds. Okay, so you're just going to play that 100%. I mean, that's 10 times better than the other one. You need to buff Death's Bargain a lot to compete with the second one. That's, I mean, infinitely fucking better. Also, insane. I'm trying to... it's not insane. You probably are going to be rolling around with an average of like... maybe like 6% magic DR. Something like that. 4 to 6%, which is totally fair. And way better than Death's Bargain. I would say to look at Death's Bargain again. That choice node isn't actually a choice. Like the way you need to look at this is like Runed Carved Plates is like passive defensiveness, but in most scenarios, this may be a PvP thing, but Death's Bargain is also kind of that. It's just significantly worse. You getting a 50% effectiveness Death Pact is not a massive thing that's going to be game changing. It's going to be super random. Reaper's Mark exploding is not happening all the time, right? It's a 30-second cooldown, or it's something that can chain. So that just has to be made better. It must be a PvP thing. I don't know. Either way. Next choice. Reduces the cooldown of Lichborn and Raised Dead by 30 seconds. Okay. When an enemy deals direct damage to your AMS, their cast speed is... Okay, this is a... What? I mean, even for PvP, Expelling Shield has to be dookie, right? I mean, that's... What's going on here? I mean, so you just take the first one 1,000% of the time. I mean, I guess they wanted to give you... This is very clear. Like, I've heard a lot of comments from PvPers. Well, not a lot, because I barely hear anything from PvPers. But they're like, hero talents seem much more PvE focused with, like, a random node that makes sense for PvP. And that makes sense. I mean, I think most of the game is PvE focused with, like, a few things for PvP. That's how it's been for a long time. But... So this one, I guess, is they're trying to throw some PvP thing, but I'm pretty sure PvPers would even want the first thing. All right, whatever. Okay, cool. So we're done with this, and then we have Exterminate. Moving on to the last Death Knight tree. We have now officially seen all 3 Death Knight trees. We've seen Sandlane, Deathbringer, and Rider of the Apocalypse. Rider of the Apocalypse won the thing we did before any of these got released, which is what are the coolest names, and Rider of the Apocalypse was definitely the best. This was... I mean, this is just an amazing thing. I've already heard about the first part, but let's get into it. Spending runes has a chance to call forth the aid of a horseman for 10 seconds. Mograine will cast Death and Decay at his location that follows his position. Okay, I wonder if your talents that are needed... Oh, check the dev notes. Okay, I'll do that in a second. I wonder if your abilities that require you being in a D&D will work off of his D&D. Oh, you guys are saying that's what the dev note is about. I love memes. Let me read this. Dev note. While not directly related to Rider of the Apocalypse tree, we both know that Sandlane and Rider trees have talents that interact with Death and Decay, and we'd like to avoid those talents draw too much of the player's focus of feedback, as we have some plans to alleviate the pressure of staying with... Oh, what a dub. What a dub. They're saying, hey guys, just letting you know, we hear your feedback that having to be in your D&D sucks. So we have nothing to reveal right here at this moment, but I can say we have plans to change how Cleaving Strikes functions them more within. All right, so if you guys don't know, Cleaving Strikes is the thing in their class tree that makes their abilities... Basically, you just have to be in your D&D at all times. There's also like some thing where you gain haste while in it, so there's other things to change besides Cleaving Strikes, but this also, I know we're already done with all the Paladin trees, but it needs to be mentioned. There's another class in the game where it's Mastery, and DKs complain about having to play in their D&D. Paladins have to play in their Consecrate, which is smaller, and, or at least to be smaller, might be the same size now or bigger. There's significantly more power in Consecrate than there is D&D. And just for everyone that plays this game, the play in your Consecrate gameplay is absolutely horrible. And I have trust that they'll fix it, because there's no way they could not have heard the feedback about D&D without people every single time mentioning, yeah, Paladin is 10 times worse. So I'm glad they realized this. Definitely also make Paladins not have... Playing in your Consecrate is horrible, horrible gameplay. Guys, I know it doesn't use runes. I know it's up all the time, and it's not on a cooldown like D&D. That does not change the fact that it is absolutely horrible. If you kite out of it even slightly while you're doing the rest of your rotation, you're just like a piece of paper. It's really bad. You'll insta-die. It's so bad. Okay. Here we go. Spending runes is a chance to call forth the aid. Okay, so cast D&D at its location that follows this position. With them making being in your D&D less valuable, it also makes Mograine not seem great. But either way, White Mane, cast Undeath on your target, dealing Shadow Frost damage per stack every 3 seconds for 24 seconds. Each time it deals damage, it gains a stack, cannot be refreshed. And this is an RNG thing, so none of these look super powerful right now, so I imagine there's way more synergy and power later in the tree, or this is going to stink. Cast Chains of Ice on your target, slowing their movement speed by 70% and increasing the damage they take from you by 5% for 8 seconds. Okay, so a little bit of a buff, but like, I don't know, you're barely going to even track that, right? And then while Nazgrim is active, you gave Apocalyptic Conquest, increasing your strength by 5%. So basically all of these are like, you gain some like little niche utility thing besides Nazgrim, plus also just some damage happens. Who knows how much Mograine's Death and Decay is, but hopefully it's tuned enough to where when you get Mograine, you're not pissed, right? Because you're not getting, you know, you're not getting one of the cooler ones where you're gaining 5% damage, they take 5% more damage from you, or also you're giving them a dot. But maybe they could just make Mograine's Death and Decay own, and it also AoEs. So like Mograine might actually be the best one of all of these, right? Depending on the scenario. These trees are hard to read and know exactly where to go, because sometimes you need to read the next thing, the bottom thing immediately. It actually kind of looks like we might want to do that. Let's look at that. Okay, Army of the Dead and Frostworm's Fury call upon all 4 horsemen to aid you for 20 seconds. So this is a Frost on Unholy Tree. Okay, so it makes your cooldowns... Well, okay, Frostworm's Fury is really interesting. Last time I checked, that's a talent, right? That's like a... I guess it's not hard to get. Do you play this a lot? That's the only thing I'm thinking of. So like it kind of shoehorns you into 2 talents almost if the horsemen are strong. That being said, we've talked about this before with tier sets. It's really not complicated to understand whether people like being shoehorned into talents or not. It's usually when that thing is or isn't powerful enough, or if that ability is really fun. Frostworm's Fury is definitely a sick ability. Like, people, you like pressing Frostworm's Fury, definitely. Like, if they could have this all the time, they would, right? But hopefully they make Frostworm's Fury more attainable or like powerful, so you feel like you want to take this all the time. But it is interesting. Maybe there's some talent tree differences coming as well, right? Like, for example, they could bake in Frostworm's Fury. Totally reasonable, right? So we'll see how that works. Going back though, it's kind of weird because Unholy's like always gonna have army. I don't know. Let's read the left side. Okay, while outdoors, you are able to mount your Acheris Death Charger in combat. Does that include in a raid? It does, right? Like Tindrill's outside, you can mount. Outdoors is outdoors. Outdoors and indoors is usually the difference between whether you can mount or not, and there are plenty of raids that are outdoors. Probably not in instanced combat. Well, wait, let's read the rest of these then. So call upon your Death Charger. Active ability. Okay, Death Charge replaces Death's Advance. Call upon your Death Charger to break free of movement and parent effects. Wow, okay, so it turns Death's Advance into like a snare break. Would have been extremely relevant this expansion on Broodkeeper and Tindrill. For 10 seconds, while upon your Death Charger, your movement speed is increased by 100%. You cannot be slowed. You are immune to force movement. It turns Death's Advance into Pally. It turns Death's Advance into Paladin's Horse, plus also breaks roots and snares and shit. So they hit the nail on the head here with fantasy big time. I'm really interested. I feel like people, yeah, Freedom plus Pally Horse and is a lot longer, yeah. This is interesting. This is going to make Death Knight's mobility a lot better. Death Knights are weird. Like, in straight line mobility, they're considered one of the slowest classes in the game. But in reality, at least in Raid, they're actually one of the best movement classes. Because Death's Advance is just completely absurd in Raid combat. And it's kind of like Mages, right? Like, Mages in a straight line are actually slower than, like, almost every class in the game. but when used correctly, their movement in a raid fight is fucking crazy, right? Maybe comparing mages to death knights is a little egregious, but you get my point. Awesome theme. I'm really interested to see how On a Paler Horse works in instanced outdoor combat. I just think that's super fun. And either way, even if this choice is just you take Death Charge in any real combat, and when you're world questing or when you're leveling, you take On a Paler Horse, I still think that's okay. Like, a lot of choice nodes don't have the choice you think, and I think that's accomplishing cool theme while also giving you two things that are unique in different parts of the games, even if it's binary at which one you take. I think that's an interesting look at a choice node too, if it works that way. Is it only a mount, or is it fight on a mount? Good question, but I think with the Rider of the Apocalypse, you have to be fighting on your mount, right? I mean, that's the whole bit. I'm assuming attacking dismounts you. Yeah, maybe it would be super... Yeah, maybe you're right. Okay, moving on. When your diseases deal damage to an enemy affected by undeath, which is the white main dot, it gains another stack. Additionally, when it deals damage, it infects a nearby enemy. Oh, that makes this way better. Okay, so white main's just an absolute beast. So far, white main is winning the 4 Horsemen challenge of being way better than the other 3. Let's see if that continues. The damage of your diseases, Frost Strike and Death Coil, are increased by 15%. Okay, whatever. Let's read the middle. Your damage is increased by 5% while you gain the benefits of your D&D. Your damage is increased by 5% and you, just in general, right? And you gain the benefits of your D&D while inside Mograin's D&D. Okay, so this is just straight up you gain 5% damage. Kind of interesting. They're giving you like the benefits of being in your D&D while also dev noting and saying that we want to remove that interaction. It's fine because those interactions still exist. And honestly, I love playing DK. I'm not completely against there being some value in being in your D&D. It's just feels really bad when a ton of your value comes from it and you feel like shit if you're outside of it and it makes you feel limited. But if it's like, oh, you get a small bonus when you're in it, I think that's totally fine. Like, I think right now after they change this, which they said they are, like getting 5% haste from being in it is totally reasonable, where cleaving strikes kind of isn't, right? So that's fine. Whatever. Cool. Wait, so your damage is increased by 5% and you gain... Okay, so never mind. You have to be in his Death and Decay to get the 5% damage increase. I was wrong about that. I read that as like a comma. Your damage is increased by 5%, comma, and you gain the benefits. It's actually just only all of this applies when you're in Mograin's. That actually kind of makes sense. I feel like without that, Mograin's Death and Decay would have to be insane for it to not suck when you get Mograin. So this kind of has to exist. But it does follow you, so that's good. Might not even have to think about that. I'm actually interested to see how these play in combat. Imagine that it doesn't follow you and he's constant. If you're kiting mobs, like, here, if you're kiting mobs, right, this is you, and then, like, here's all the mobs following you, and here's Mograin. Kind of looks like he's dabbing, right? And then you're kiting. I could also see it being like this. Like, you're moving this way with the mobs, and he's, like, just behind the whole pack. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but... So if an enemy dies while Nazgrim is active, the strength of Apocalyptic, that's the buff, the strength buff. The strength of Apocalyptic Conquest is increased by 3%. Additionally, each rune you spend increases its value by 1%. Whoo! How long's the buff? While Nazgrim is active. I mean, he's active for 20 seconds when you press Apocalypse Now. So it's going to gain that kind of Pillar of Frost talent that like gives you more strength for all the things you're doing. It's going to kind of feel like that for Unholy or Frost for 20 or 10 seconds, depending on the scenario. And it's going to feel a little rampy. And it's going to feel, I mean, this is just insane for like your cooldown window. Like your cooldowns are going to feel really, really good for both. Except it's weird. It's again, Frostworm's Fury, just a really interesting button to tie this to. But I don't know what other choice they would have. Like, if you did it to Pillar of Frost, for example, it's just too often, right? It's just you can't have it up that much. I don't know. Okay. If an enemy dies, yeah, okay, read that. Choice node. Every 50 runic power you spend extends the duration of the Horseman's aid in combat by 1 second up to 5, like that. Other than maybe having to like hold off, I don't know. That's fine. It's okay. When you have 2 or more horsemen aiding you, your runic power spending abilities deal 20% increased damage and have a 10% chance to refund a rune. Bro, and these horsemen are going to be kind of popping out all the time, right? I mean, for this to work like this. Like, I actually really like this. I think having their power being relatively low, but you spawning a lot of them, is a way better option than them being insanely OP individually, and then it really mattering if you got lucky to spawn them. Like, spawning them all the time not only helps theme, but they're giving you things for like when a few or more are out, you're like way more powerful, and they're actually going to make that happen. It depends on the chance, but very clearly the way that this is designed is lending you more towards you're going to get these to spawn pretty frequently for a lot of these other things to make sense. It probably cycles. Oh yeah, true. So warlocks have the closest thing to this. I forget the name of it. Is it Diabolist? They have one very similar to this, and they do actually rotate. It's not random. But I'm not speaking about that when I say randomness. The randomness I mean is the proc chance for you to get any of them kind of thing. Does this mean that you'll have 20% more damage on breath? That's very insane if that's true. And imagine if every tick of breath has a 10% chance to give you a rune back. That sounds maybe a little too crazy. Okay, either way, infinite breath. The whole like there's gonna be infinite breath is it's like that astronaut meme, right? The like always has been thing. Like literally every patch you find a way to have infinite breath if you play properly. Okay, while at your aid, the horseman will eventually cast or will occasionally cast anti-magic shell on you and themselves at 80% effectiveness. What the fuck? What the fuck? That is insane. I mean, so we're guessing a lot here. We don't know how often horsemen are going to spawn, except it's kind of obvious it'll be a decent amount. And then we also don't know how often they're going to cast AMS on you, but that is insane. I think this is not going to go live. I actually think they're going to nerf that. I think that is the most broken defensive thing I've seen on any tree. So for you guys who maybe haven't played in a while or watching this, somehow randomly 3,000 viewers on YouTube right now, AMS is often misunderstood as being super OP defensively because it's just a magic absorb. It's OP because it functions as an immunity while it is up. If a lot of dots are trying to apply to you or whatever, one of the first things we try when testing or pulling any boss for the first time is what can AMS immune? And sometimes it's so insane that you stack them. And it also gives you back resources too. Holy moly, that is good. That is so good. And 80% is a huge number. That is, that's so strong. And then Pact of the Apocalypse, when you take damage, 5% of the damage is redirected to each active horseman. Wow. So, I mean, that's insane too. I mean, even if throughout the fight, when you don't have your cooldowns up, this is like a 5 to 10% passive. Guys, passive DRs are so OP in this game. Currently, with how this game is made, where everyone has crazy defenses, we're not doing the whole tangent again, but like, you can look on Warcraft Log's death statistics. There are classes when played at the highest level that are more tanky than passive defensiveness classes because really good players know when to use those buttons. But that's extremely difficult. When you look, especially lower percentile stuff, you look at death logs, the classes that just passively have defensiveness are 10 times better because this game is just so gibby now that you need to be so proactive. I'm not gonna, I promised you I wouldn't do the whole tangent again, and I think stuff like this is really cool, but I just really think the overall defensiveness in this game is a massive problem. Just gonna leave it at that. This is so good though, and cool. And the first one is like, I like the first one a lot more because they're both OP, but the first one will like change decisions you make because like you get AMS and like you'll just randomly immune stuff and be like, oh, that was sick. Fuck yeah, Horseman. Fuck yeah, Mograine. Thanks for the AMS, buddy. Okay, when you obliterate or Scourge Strike a target affected by Trollbane's Chains of Ice, it shatters, dealing Shadow Frost damage to nearby enemies and slows them by 40% in 4 seconds. Okay, so this is needed because Chains of Ice was looking like by far the weakest one of these, even just on paper. And then obviously we've already read Nazgrim, Whitemane's, and Mograine's node to like make each one better, right? But this needed to happen. And I still think it depends on what the number is here. This could either be like the best one to get in AoE, even though I think it's probably just going to rotate through them. But I could also still see it being a bit weaker than other stuff. It slows them, but you think it'll affect bosses? Bosses are universally not affected by slows, yeah. Also, I could see this being really annoying. Can you imagine there's like some big slowable mob and you're in Sanguine and then like you just your Frosty K just chains of ices it from his guy. But also let's just hope Sanguine doesn't exist next expansion, right? The cooldown of your Horn of Winter, Unholy Blight, the cooldown of your Horn of Winter and Unholy Blight are reduced by 15 seconds and D&D is reduced by 10 seconds. I don't really know how I feel about this tree. So, theme, they knocked it out of the fucking park. They hit the longest home run in the history of baseball. Like, they kind of nailed the theme. They nailed the cooldown alignment. But, like, half of these nodes in which other classes are gaining some kind of value, they're just 4 of these nodes are just making these horsemen actually relevant, you know? The defensive nodes are fucking cracked. I think, I'm not kidding, I think both of these choice nodes So not just the best one you can choose, but both of them are better than every other class's defensive node that has been shown so far by a lot. Nah, not by a lot. There's Druid one's good. This is insane. Like, this is super, super insane. And DK's already not squishy, but I think they're cool enough to keep. I kind of worry. You guys know my bit about defensives. So what are aspects of this I like? Theme is good. The cooldown, how it's going to feel in cooldowns. The Death's Advance becoming a horse thing is sick. The runic power mattering to spend it to increase their time in combat. My only thing is, like, I don't want this to feel bad when you, like, don't have runic power when one is out kind of thing, like outside of your CDs, but like during the random procs. I almost wish it was like a combination of runic power and runes spent, so it was like you were just doing your normal rotation and they're out longer, but then like you wouldn't feel as good from spending that runic power when they're out. Dude, this node is insane. So I might be looking at this wrong. When you take damage, 5% of the damage is redirected to each active horseman. So it's not actually multiplying by the amount of horsemen that are out, right? It's just a 5% DR pretty much all the time. That's still better than like every node, though. A 5% passive DR is insane. I mean, it might be, but I could see it being split. Yeah. Even if this is just 5% ever, it's going to be basically permanent, and it's super insane. What do you guys think, chat? Like, when we rated this stuff before, it was like theme really mattered. Absolutely. Gameplay matters. I love this tree. The only thing that holds me back is the fact that they had to spend 4 of these nodes making these guys do something that they should be doing in the first place. Like, they had an idea for Mograine and Whitemane and Trollbane, like, already. And then they were like, okay, we're just going to give you the base level of this here, and then, like, we're going to spend half of this tree just making them do their thing. Now, keep in mind, if you're new to watching these, we're not exclusively talking about power. This is, I don't know. Like, power doesn't really matter as much. It's more like design. And also, Frostworm's Fury, I mean, you're going to have to play Frostworm's Fury guaranteed with this, and I don't play Frost enough right now to know what that does to your build. And again, we're doing something really dangerous, which is trying to apply hero talents to a version of these spec trees that we don't know. There is an extremely high / almost guaranteed chance that like basically every tree that didn't get recently reworked in Dragonflight is going to look very different in the War Within. Maybe Frostworm's Fury is more accessible. If they're building it into part of your kit, like I'm assuming they're going to have it not be just like 2 capstone things gone the whole expansion. So maybe we'll just leave that alone for now. Am I dooming too much on it? Do you guys see where I'm coming from? I'm not dooming. I'm saying this is a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10. That's my take. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying that, like, I think just saying this is a straight 10, like, I think, personally, my opinion, it would be a stretch to compare this to Scale Commander and Frostfire Mage, where those are, like, 10s, right? Like, the whole tree is a 10, right? Like, they had an idea, and then every single node built on that. I think they spent too many of these nodes explaining to you what this is going to do in the first place. That's maybe I'm being, and I want to call this a 10. This is my favorite name. And maybe I'm right. Hopefully I'm making some good sense here, but man, they're making you spawn the 4 horsemen in combat. Am I looking too far past how cool that is? And I mean, if you're talking bat chest value, like people coming back to the game and like bat chesting about, I mean, this is just, there's no higher level of this than like you're going to be you're the goddamn 5th horseman. All right, this thing's sick. You're right. I'm being what did Suki used to tell me when we would be in traffic and like someone would like cut her off and she'd be like, fuck you to the guy in traffic, and then I'd be like, I don't know, maybe he has like maybe he like is having a bad day, or he's late for something important or something. And then she was like, yeah, I don't really want you to be so evolved. I really just want you to tell that guy fuck you with me. And then I'm like, okay. So now if you pass someone in the car, you're just like, fuck you. If they say fuck you, you say fuck you, right? And you need to not be. Maybe I'm trying to be too evolved with my stuff with the tree here. All right, first look at Demon Hunter. Oh, also before we get off here, I know I didn't like rate them yet. I'm gonna do that at the end of the stream. I think DKs are doing pretty good. You're not Paladin tier where Ret Paladin tier where your 2 options are both very different and completely sick. DKs are probably gonna end up with like a super insane, a really cool, and a kind of bad. So like it's like upper mid tier, like so far compared to the other classes that have had them all released. It's not Paladin tier. which is good. A lot of DK players. Okay, Demon Hunter. So Aldrachi Reaver. My main issue with with Demon Hunters is like Demon Hunter players are so lore based, right? Like, or not lore based, but like they're so, what's the word? Like they're so into playing Demon Hunter. Like they probably wear blindfolds around their house. Like they fucking love this shit, you know? You couldn't come up with something better than Aldrachi Reaver or Fellsguard. Like, you couldn't come up with some, like, line that Illidan said one time that was just sick. Like, I feel like Demon Hunters would have been better served by having some super epic names. That's all I'm saying. Like, the Betrayer. Like, holy moly, you know? Okay. All right. Demon Hunter, the Aldrachi Reaver. This is for Havoc and Vengeance, just like the other tree. There's only 2. Let's check it out. First look. Art of the Glaive. Consuming 3 or... 3 soul fragments for Havoc or 20 for Vengeance. Allows you to cast Reaver's Glaive. It'll replace Throw Glaive. Okay, so you're not going to have like a new keybind for it. Also kind of interesting to think about with the way that Havoc plays right now, but I'm assuming that's going to be gone. Throw a Glaive enhanced, and it also kind of pins you into that side of your tree. Like when this current tier set is gone, it's more of a choice for Havoc to like play these Throw Glaive talents, right? And this is kind of shoehorning you into that. And I wonder if the Demon Hunter talents, once we see both of them, are going to be so basic where it's like, okay, well, Havoc Demon Hunters, you have 2 choices. We're giving you like a Throw Glaive centric one where you take the Throw Glaive talents, then another one where it's about like being in demon form or something like that. I don't know. Okay. Throw a Glaive enhanced with the essence of Consume Souls, dealing physical damage and ricocheting to 2 additional targets for additional damage replaces Throw Glaive. So it's going to hit 5 targets? Something like that. Begins a or even more, right? Doesn't it already have something that, I don't know. Begins a well-practiced pattern of glaive work, enhancing your next Chaos Strike and Blade Dance. Fracture, Shear, and Soul Cleave. Okay, so it's going to enhance your next button. Okay. Chaos Strike, Fracture, and Shear. Apply Reaver's Mark, which causes the target to take 15% increased damage for 5 seconds. And Blade Dance and Soul Cleave deal 3 additional glaive slashes to nearby enemies for additional damage. Okay, so you have like kind of a choice, right? Do you want to buff your damage upcoming or... Okay, so this is already really cool if there are scenarios that are correct for both, right? I think boring if you press either one and it doesn't matter. Oh, it enhances both. So no matter what, your next Chaos Strike and your next Blade Dance are both going to do that. So you'd want to press Chaos Strike first, right? Always. Okay, we got a spam going in chat. Let's check this out. Max, something to remember is that Aldrachi Reavers are literally a military order who fought so tooth and nail to defend their world against the Legion that literally Sargeras had to come down and kill them all. He literally had to try to beat their greatest champion. The tank artifact is from that champion. The Aldrachi are fucking sick, and you need to put some respect on their... Okay, shit, my bad. I didn't know it was like that. Okay, so Aldrachi are insane. My bad. Holy moly. I'm just picturing the person who typed that is like in their room in the pitch dark, by the way, with like maybe some like very Burning Crusade green moonlighting and a Naruto headband or some kind of blindfold. But that goes hard because you called me an idiot and you were right, you know? Okay, so here we go. So we're doing that. Okay, so it's just going to buff your buttons. There's no choice involved, so that's fine. Let's read in some direction. I'm going to avoid all these choice nodes because I'm feeling weird. While enhanced, Chaos Strike and Soul Cleave deal 30% more damage. Okay. While Reaver's Mark is on your target, melee attacks have a chance to strike with an additional glaive slash for damage. Oh, and Shatter a Soul. That's actually interesting. Oh, wait. What is Reaver's Mark? Did I miss some? Oh, that's the... Yeah. That's the damage buff. 5-second thing. Got it. So during the 5 seconds, melee attacks have a chance to strike for an additional thing and Shatter a Soul. Super good. I wonder... That's probably really high uptime for that to matter. But that could be good for both Vengeance and Havoc. Sounds good. Consuming a soul fragment causes your next Chaos Strike, Fracture, or Shear to deal bonus damage, but you're going to be getting a lot more soul fragments with this. Let's read the bottom. After consuming both empowerments, gain Thrill of the Fight, increasing your attack speed by 5 seconds, and causing your next ability to deal 30% increased damage and healing. Okay. I'm going to need to be convinced. So far, this is mid for me. I mean, this is certainly not insane. Okay, well, it makes it seem a lot better because apparently Aldrachi Reavers are fucking warlords, but... whatever. So far it's looking pretty mid. Let's keep going. Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. Ooh. Okay, so that's fun. And Vengeful Retreat resets the cooldown. Does that mean that... I don't even know where this talent is that you always take. No, is it just built in? Is it just baked in? That's almost ridiculous resources. Are you gonna? Yeah, I know initiative. Yeah, or it's below initiative for the thing. Yeah, down here. Are you gonna have any realistic way to actually spend that fury though? That almost sounds. The initiative part of it's good. Does that actually sound fun to play with? Dude, you would need to have like just Fel Barrage would make that excellent. Yeah, Fel Barrage is like the only thing that would make that feel good though. You guys know my pet peeve. Overcapping resources drives me insane. When you are properly playing the game and capping resources, specs that do that drive me crazy. Vengeful Retreat resetting the cooldown of Fellblade, on the other hand, also makes things just a little bit more consistent too. That sounds bad because Fellblades, you can kind of just play around having a Fellblade, but it does just kind of feel nice, you know? Also, that's just a lot of Vengeful Retreating. So, I mean, in a way, you could look at it like this. Like, this choice node was designed for, like, they basically were like, Vengeful Retreat can be cast a second time within 3 seconds. Then someone at the office was like, hey, so a lot of people hate the movement stuff, and we've done a good job so far of making sure that there's no movement builds that are pretty relevant. Can we give a choice node here for them? And they're like, all right, we'll give them Fellblade every time, so they can always go right back to the boss. Maybe something like that. Okay, so Fellblade surrounds you with a Blade Ward, reducing physical damage by 10% for 5 seconds. Okay, so making Fellblade a lot more relevant for Vengeance. And then the other one I'm assuming is Havoc. Consuming a Soul Fragment also heals you for an additional 15% over time. That's insanity for Vengeance, right? That's insane. Like, it's going to do a lot of overhealing, but it's also going to... That's going to be insanely value. That sounds really strong. But it doesn't seem like there's a really good Havoc node here. I mean, like, Incorruptible Spirit is fine for Havoc, I guess. And there's also certain raid fights where Army Unto Yourself and dungeon bosses that are excellent, right? Like, if you guys have played Demon Hunter and High Mythic Plus this season, you're like, oh, my class is super tanky. It takes all this passive reduced damage, and I leech all the time. But then you get to a high enough dungeon, and you're like, oh, I don't really have enough buttons here. And then it's Sanguine Week, and someone's trying to get you to take Mortal Dance. And you're just like, well, I kind of need Deflecting Dance to even kind of live this boss yelling at me every 10 seconds and one-shotting my whole health bar, right? And then, like, having 10% Phys-DR in multiple scenarios would actually be quite good. If you ever, as a Havoc Demon Hunter, to get enough points, spec out of, man, where is it? It's somewhere down here. It's the thing where you get armor, this Infernal Armor, to get, like, Sigil of Misery plus Imprison and Charred Warblades. If you do those dungeons that have that high Fizz damage, like, you'll notice not having Infernal Armor and die. So that's also not bad. I think this could just be more... I think Incorruptible Spirit could be more interesting for Havoc for me. But also, you're just going to be getting so many more Soul Fragments as Havoc, so it's kind of just like more passive healing. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm not a huge fan of that. Each successive... Just compare that to like 5% DR, which is Turbo Broken, or like the AMS thing. Like, I don't know. Demon Hunters and DKs are probably similarly tanky. Each successive enhanced ability deals 10% increased damage, and the effect of the second enhancement is increased by... What? Each successive enhanced ability. So you're, I mean, they already want you to press Chaos Strike and then Blade Dance, but this is just going to make that second ability do 100% more and then 10, I guess. So it's just like, I mean, that Blade Dance is just going to pipe. Or I guess you could picture it as a 3-button combo. It's like Throw Glaive, Chaos Strike, and then Blade Dance 3, not just 2. But then I guess, so it's kind of making you want to Blade Dance second. It's 4 buttons because of the capstone. After consuming both empowerments, gain Thrill of Fight, increasing your attack speed and causing your next ability to deal 30%. Oh, so it is 4. But then why is it specifically the second? I mean, if this is just you do this normally, you press Throw Glaive, you press Chaos Strike, you press Blade Dance, and then that's actually Blade Dance as the second enhancement, then that would feel good. You can choose Chaos Strike second for a 30% damage buff. But the third will be 110. Let's play with this and see if this makes more sense. It seems a little confusing right now. And also, like, even there's a few ways I think this works. It'd be really hard to tell without actually playing it, but both of them seem kind of weird. I don't know. Okay, left side. Reaver's Glaive generates 20 Fury. So pressing Throw Glaive generates Fury, or is that just going to mitigate the cost of Fury to do the thing? It'll probably it replaces it, but it doesn't necessarily say that it's going to have the same cost necessarily. So I guess it's just it makes Throw Glaive not only start that combo, but becomes a generator. And the other one is just AoE. Throw Glaive deals damage to enemies near its initial target. This is something where the solution is going to be simming it. But well, I mean, it's also a single target versus AoE thing. But I mean, you could also make the argument that like even in AoE, you would take the first one depending on the scenario, especially with Prio. It's fine. The second enhanced ability in a pattern shatters an additional soul fragment. Okay. And casting an enhanced ability. Oh, okay. Wherever this tree was just going to go, it just went up. I don't know how many steps, but a few. So I can tell you I played a lot of Havoc this patch, and the whole bit of your hunt being reduced by casting Throw Glaive or whatever, I was like, this is so good. You guys have heard my tangents where I'm like, hey man, if you have a good tier set and then you have some stinky class tree points, bake it in. That's the glory of these tier sets, or these spec trees, is like when something is great in tier sets, which is you getting a chance to innovate every patch, you can keep it. And I can tell you the current Havoc tier set is so fun to play. Getting the hunt reduced is so fun. And having that be gone forever would feel really bad, especially if they're going to do something Throw Glaive based. And then right at the end, right at the buzzer, Mike Breen screaming bang, they throw in some hunt CDR as well. Okay, that's going to feel good. Okay, this just got way better. I still am really happy they kept in hunt CDR ability, or having that option. And this really does kind of, we haven't seen Fellscarred yet, but I really wonder if like Fellscarred is going to have just nothing to do with like this is the Throw Glaive tree, and the other one is something it's going to have to relate to both Havoc and Vengeance. Maybe it's meta related. It's like big meta, or it can't be the hunt related. Like I think this is like the one that has to do with the hunt. Maybe it's I-Beam Feldev related. Or it could be Immo Aura related. Yeah, but I mean like Immo Aura. Yeah, I mean there's the Immo Aura stuff in both trees. Yeah, I think they could have done better with a Throw Glaive tree. I don't know. Am I being like, I'm just not wowed by this. It looks like it might be fun to play, but there's no wow factor on the theme. It seems like it'll be fine. It just seems like it was about to be like below mid, and then this made it mid or slightly above because of the gameplay. I don't know. This would be mid for me. This is my opinion. I think this is mid. It's not bad. It's not bad. There's bad stuff, but that's not bad. All right, we have the last Druid ability. Let me take a drink of W. Okay, so I think there's a lot riding on this tree. We noticed this with Moonkins. When Moonkins got introduced to their Keeper of the Grove thing, if you were to ignore theme entirely, Keeper of the Grove's profile, and if you ignore the fact that you're pressing treants to gain the power and just the overall theme, it's going to be strong. And you know, that's just kind of a casualty of sharing a tree with Resto. And then you knew that because Guardian had what are they called? Arcane-ish abilities? Not solar, opposite of solar. I don't know. They had like the Moonfire stuff, right? You knew that the Moonkins were going to get the flavor they wanted. Lunar, yeah. They were going to get the flavor they wanted from the Guardian side, and they did. Like, I actually think the gameplay, personally, the gameplay of Keeper of the Grove is better than Elun's Chosen. Elun's Chosen just totally nails the theme for Moonkins, and Keeper of the Grove totally misses. Not to mention that Resto Druids are also kind of at odds with the new design of Resto Druid of we're just spawning trees now kind of thing. I don't know. And then Druids kind of had the same thing. Like Druids have gotten, Feral Druids got their tree that combined with Resto. And it looked really good for like Mythic Plus Resto players because it was trying to combine the aspects of cat weaving and also being a healer. Even though JB, the ultimate cat weaving druid, was like, this is mid, I think. So Druid, there's a lot of stuff on Druid of the Claw. I have been a bleed fan forever. I've actually randomly have probably played Feral's where I got my start. I played more Feral. I played Feral all day, every day during Siege of Orgrimmar and a little before that, a couple years before that. And it's because all of the power was in their bleeds. So I'm looking for Druid of the Claw, which is, you know, Guardians have had one choice so far, which goes all the way into their lunar side, right? They have an entire part of their spec tree or a bunch of talents that are like lunar related. And this one goes down that side. Guess what's the opposite side? Everything that's purely bleed based. And I think Feral's, my opinion, having more power put into their bleeds is a good thing for the spec. I actually, just kind of a side note, I wish all the classes in this game that were built off of dots, so like, you know, Feral and then all of the caster wizard daughters, I wish they brought dots back. Like I wish the classes that were built around dots were just, the dots were the part of the spec that was sick. And it used to be like that, and they've nerfed them, and I know why they nerfed them, because dots are insanely hard to tune. But like, I don't know. they kind of just play so similar now. Like, they turned Feral Druid for so many years into just like an Assassination Rogue. An Assassination Rogue is also not really about its dots. It's like they made Rake Garrote, they made Rip Rupture, and then they made Ferocious Bite Eviscerate. And outside of a couple of things in their toolkit, they were basically just like spamming their finishers, but like the whole point should be their dots. So maybe I'm asking for too much, but I'm hoping from this Druid of the Claw tree to see a little bit more emphasis in their multi-dot gameplay. I kind of doubt it though, because their other one they got so far, what was it called? Wildstalker. Wildstalker had a bunch of dot stuff in the form of those little vines or whatever, but I think that was kind of weird. Let's see. It's just called Massive Attack. Okay, before I read any of this, and it might stink, there has never been something, you guys have heard me so far today, like you can read the first thing and you can tell if it's super insane or really bad. I've never been more confused. This could be the most ass thing of all time, or it could just be fucking insane. Like, they just have their first thing is called Massive Attack. Your auto attacks have a chance to make your next Ferocious Bite or Maul become Massive Attack. I hope they never change that name. Holy moly. Finishing move that slashes your target in a wide arc, dealing physical damage per combo point to your target and consuming... Well, it has to hit other enemies because it's in a wide arc, right? Oh, yeah. Consuming up to 25 additional energy and to increase... Okay, so it's just Ferocious Bite that AoEs. Hits all other enemies in front of you for reduced... It probably hits harder than Ferocious Bite and also AoEs. I have not played Feral this expansion, but just quick question. As a baseline, Feral Druids, is having 1 out of 4 Ferocious Bites do massive AoE? Would that feel good in AoE, for example? Like, are you... Like, just... Now, keep in mind, you're not already Ferocious Biting. You have to keep in mind that, like, you're going to have your Thrash up. You're going to have AoE ripped everything already. And then now... It's just your Ferocious Bite 2 times a pack is going to light up and do a ton of AoE damage. Does that feel bad or good? I want a real AoE spender, please. I would... Maybe a conversation for another day, but I'd be careful what you ask for. The classes that are the most problematic in this game for the last couple years, actually, are the classes where they've built in binary decisions on whether you're spending a finisher to AoE or single target. Those classes are super one-dimensional and usually never come close to classes that can do both at the same time by having more nuanced design. That was Rhett's problem for years. Rhett is currently super, super well tuned, but I think in the future they'll still suffer from that. Like, literally just having to choose Divine Storm or Templar's Verdict has limited them so much. So be careful what you ask for. And then Guardian, you'll press Maul and it will just AoE, which is kind of weird because they already have a button that's Maul but just AoEs. Dealing physical damage to enemies in front of you. For Guardian, I find this even weirder. Let's keep going. Frenzied Regen increases your max health by 10% just during the duration of Frenzied Regen. Okay. Your maximum energy and rage are increased. Iron Fur and Frenzied Regen persist in cat form. Wait. Okay, Feral and Guard. Iron Fur and Frenzied Regen persist in cat form, but you can't cast them in cat form. When transitioning from bear to cat form, you retain 80% of your bear form armor and health for 6 seconds. Oh, this is so funny. For 6 seconds after entering bear form, you heal for 10% of damage taken over 8 seconds. The reason why I find this funny is most people, or most Druid players have been Moonkins, or at least the most loud ones, and they've been having to go bear to live things for so long. Feral's less often, but I just find it so funny that they actually leaned into that for Feral and gave them some kind of lasting mitigation that would have helped Moonkins feel less ass in doing that, other than the fact that Moonkins don't want to do that at all, and then every other class is like, haha, you have bear form, buddy, you're always tanky, and then all Moonkins are like... I just remember the POV, when people make that argument about how, like, oh, Druids are actually really tanky, they can just turn into a dog and, like, not die. I just remember watching Zevi's POV on Razageth, where I think on our kill, he was in bear form for 45% of P1 Razageth, which is just the worst feeling of all time. He got almost every lightning thing. Okay, but maybe more of this will make sense. Frenzied Regen can be cast in cat form for 40 energy. Ooh, kind of like Faint vibes. Bear form reduces magic damage you take by 4%. Shred, Swipe, and Mangle damage increased. And there's two choices here. So that's just a choice of something else where Shred and Swipe gain Ursine potential. When you have 8 stacks, your next time you transform into bear form. Oh my god, is this a bear weaving? Is this like a cat bear? It is. Ooh, okay, so before I even fucking read this, super interesting. Super interesting. Okay, so number one, for Guardian, this is sick. Because Guardians have struggled to find raid viability for the past couple years, and the only time they've been viable in raid have been when they are just the absolute most broken class in the game, and even then, not even. And I feel like Blizzard should have been able to lean more into what they're unique at, which is they're the tank that should always be able to, while not actively tanking, do more damage than the rest of everyone else, because they have Heart of the Wild and they have the ability to like Cat and Moonkin Weave, right? And they've never really realized that. Like, they have, but it hasn't been something where like you'd bring them for a powerful competitive like they'd be good enough because of that. Like, Paladins have off healing, DKs have, if there's a ton of magic damage, the way that they heal doesn't really matter. Same thing with Vengeance Demon Hunter, right? Like, every tank has like its thing. Bear hasn't really had its thing other than overtuning, and I think Bear's thing should be we can do a ton of damage while not actively tanking, and that's has turned out, but not strong enough as it should be. So I hope to see that from this. And then for Feral, I'm not totally, it sounds ass, but I'm not totally against the idea of bear and cat weaving if they give it enough juice. Like, I started reading this shit initially and I was like, what's going on here? How is that going to work? I'm assuming they're going to have to add some stuff where you like retain combo points. And all right, let's keep reading. So Frenzied Regen can be cast in cat form, some buffs to some of your spells and defensives. And then Shred and Swipe gain this one at 8 stacks. The next time you okay, so when you hit 8 stacks, you're going to ideally want to transfer into bear form. Your next Mangle or Swipe deals 100% increased damage and generates 15 extra rage. But it also has to like generate combo points, kind of, right? Like, okay, and then let's look at the other way. So Mangle grants Feline Potential. And Feline Potential is when you have 6 stacks, the next time you transform into cat form, gain 6 combo points, and your next Ferocious Bite or Rip deals 50% increased damage for its full duration. Dude, it's so funny. This is going to be extremely fun, or it's going to miss horribly. They're gonna. I just need to read the rest of the tree. There's so much going on here. Okay. And also they are giving you choice nodes. Like, if you just want to be a cat, for example, and you don't want to do this transfer stuff, there are choice. It seems like so far all the stuff where you're weaving is a straight up choice. Like, it's not, if you take this, you're definitely doing that. Massive Attack also inflicts a bleed that causes additional damage over 6 seconds and saps its strength, reducing damage they deal to you by 5%. For Feral, if a dreadful wound is benefiting from Tiger's Fury is reapplied, the new dreadful wound deals damage as if Tiger Fury was active. So I asked that question before to you, Ferals. If you're in a pack and you already have all your dots up and you have AoE Rip out, and then your Ferocious Bite lights up and it just does big damn, do you want to press that? Now it also is inflicting a bleed. So I mean, I guess even more powerful. Okay. Massive Attack increases your auto attack speed by 20% for 6 seconds. That's mid. Massive Attack increases your agi by 5% and armor granted by Iron Fur by 20%. Okay. And then the other one, Feral, your first Tiger's Fury after entering combat makes your next Ferocious Bite become a Massive Attack. I kind of wish that was every Tiger's Fury and not just number 1. More autos equals more massive attacks. True, yeah. And then Guardian, your first Mangle after entering combat makes your next Maul become a passive attack. Or massive attack. Not passive. Okay. Cool. For every finishing move, Shred, Thrash, or Swipe you cast extends the duration of your Dreadful Wounds by 0.4 seconds up to 6 seconds. That's the dot, which you can extendo. And then Guardian, every Maul, Raise, Mangle, Thrash, or Swipe you cast extends the duration. Okay, so just extended by pressing your buttons. Ferocious Bites damage increased by 5%, and Primal Wrath's direct damage increased by 100. Stampeding Roar's duration increased by... Ooh, that's nice. Oh, I really like that, actually. So this is going to give Ferals and Guardians a feel at some extra utility that they have that the other Druid specs can't bring. Like, I know at least for me, like when we're bringing Roars into a raid and you always need them for certain fights, having a certain spec bring you an extra Roar is not something that is going to make you bring another spec instead of another one, but it is something where you would realize it and actively notice that that is very nice. So that's sick. That's really good. That's a nice utility node. And then the cooldown of Feral Frenzy is reduced by 5 seconds, and the cooldown of Pulverize is reduced by 5, and then Shred, Swipe, and Mangle's crit strike chance and critical strike damage are increased by 8. Okay. Both making you want crit and, well, not really not want crit. You're unlikely hitting crit DRs, but okay. I didn't even read the last thing yet. During Berserk, Shred, Swipe, and Thrash have a 25% chance to make your next Ferocious Bite become a massive attack. And then during Berserk, Mangle, all your buttons have a 20%. Dude, I think this is sick. I like this tree a lot. I feel like this is going to make your cooldown windows as Feral feel so much stronger. Now, there's one thing. So I just think even without the bear weaving, I think this tree feels good. I'm a little concerned about the bear weaving. Like, I could see bear weaving Feral Druid being strong in raid combat and being the most unkillable thing to ever grace more than like it'd be like Rep Paladins with a cheat death, like an actual unkillable DPS class. And also it's so funny that it would be competing for a raid spot with Moonkin, who are like weak as fuck, right? Like Ferals already were like a little tankier than Moonkin, although this is like kind of Feral Strikes Back thing, especially with the Stampeding Roar. Do you guys know that Ferals weren't brought to the race world first in an optimal scenario for 10 years before Amir Drasil? And the main reason for that was for 9 of those years, Moonkins had Innervate and Ferals didn't until this expansion. And now it's like Ferals have a little bit better roar too. So how's the utility game going now, you fucking owls? I like this. What's the Feral community feedback on this? I can see initially reading it, and it's not like Rider of the Apocalypse tier, but I feel like this is great for me. It sounds good. Like just having Ferocious Bite pop. It's not what I wanted from the dot thing, although they did kind of have another hero talent for dot trees. Like I think it's certainly above mid. I don't know if you could call it like awesome, but I think Ferals and Moonkins got kind of what they wanted, right? Like if you look at it from a Feral and Moonkins perspective, let's ignore healers and tanks for a moment. Druid was probably the hardest job they had because they have 4 specs and 4 hero talent trees and specs that want to do very different things. And they ended up having Feral have a Ferocious Bite proccing massive damage build that includes some bear weaving, which is super interesting. And their other alternative is we want to make your multi-dotting better. Those are 2 things you would use in different scenarios. I think the Vines thing doesn't hit as hard. It could be a little better, but it kind of works. Moonkins have the lunar tree that they wanted that looks good, and then they have the tree one, which in my opinion is going to be better gameplay and also a more powerful thing for their kit, but it's a really bad theme, but it's because it's shared with Resto gets a tree hero talent, which is they've been super buying into trees all expansion, and then they get a cat weaving one, which is this super interesting playstyle that a lot of Resto druids partake in, right? And then Guardian gets this like off tank cat weaving gameplay, which could be really, really sick, and also has the Moonkin thing. We made Lunar Beam good for the first time, and like Lunar Beam is this like awesome Guardian Druid talent that's been bad for years and years and years, and they made Lunar Beam like the focus of that tree, and it sounds like it's gonna crank. I'm a big fan of overall what they did with Druid. I think it's probably the hardest thing they had to do, and now that we've seen all 4 of them, I think they did a really good job of balancing the gameplay of each spec against each other. You always are going to have an option you want. Okay. The PvP implications do seem absolutely nutty for this bear cat weaving. Oh, yeah. So I'm not familiar with PvP just in general, but I can just imagine Ferals already being weird to kill, and now they can just go in bear form and kill you through it, and they're just also in bear form. Where, like, if you're fighting a Moonkin right now, if they're in bear form, that means they're in high danger and they're running away from you and also not killing you. But that is not going to be true with Feral, right? All right, so we have Pack Leader. So this is for BM and Survival. I imagine this will be majorly kill command based. It's a button that both of them have. They gave Dark Ranger to BM and MM. I thought about that for a while because I heard some people saying that Survival made more sense for Dark Ranger than BM, so it should have been like MM Survival. But I think the reason they did that is Dark Ranger is a huge bat chest spec that hunters want to play. And let's be real, probably 90% or more of hunters are MM, BM only gamers. And Dark Ranger is the most wanted theme thing. So they wanted you to have a 50%, 90% of the players can play Dark Ranger at all times, right? But let's see how this works. Pack Leader. Your kill command prepares. Oh, actually, I want to hear more, maybe more kill command. They have a kill command icon, kill shot. I hope they make kill shot better for these specs. Prepares you to viciously attack coordination with your pet, dealing additional physical damage with your next kill command. This already is setting this tree up for failure. Just every time you read a great tree, you're not leaving this first tree like, okay, but I'm just like, okay. Going down the left, attacking a vicious hunt instructs your pet to strike with their basic attack alongside your next barb shot. Okay, does damage. Aspect of the turtle, survival of the fittest, and men pet. Heal the target for 20% of max health over 4 seconds. Duration is increased by 1 second when healing a target over under 50% health. So a little bit more of I mean, this is fine. The defensive node in Dark Ranger was also something that I liked a lot. And this just has to rival that, and I feel like it's pretty close to doing that. It's giving you the, like, free exil with survival of the fittest that Dark Ranger has. Well, it's 20% over 4 seconds, so it's not as good. Hunters are classes that are going to focus more. I've been talking about how they shouldn't overdo the defensives. If they give Hunters some extra defensives, no one's crying about it, right? Whatever. Okay. Kind of cool, I think. Kill command increases the duration of Beast Cleave by 1 second. Okay, well, I was thinking of Dark Ranger, which needed this, but fine. Okay, Wildfire Bomb reduces the cooldown of Carve or Butchery. I don't play that spec. I have no idea what that means. Multi-Shot increases the damage of your next multi-shot by 25%. So just your multi-shot does more damage. Kill command increases the duration of Beast Cleave, and then the other one is multi-shot damage focus. So I guess, what's the choice here? It's when you're... I guess covering fire is supposed to be like you're prioing a target, but Beast Cleave is still value. So you want to be kill commanding and blasting the main target, right? And then the second one is like if you want a hard AoE, I guess. It's like free cleave versus... Interesting. I'm just going to ignore most of the survival stuff because I just don't understand it. I feel like you're just going to take the top one. Whatever. Let's read the middle. Your pet's basic attack crits become your critical strike damage. Increase your crit damage by 5% for 6 seconds. Stack them to 3 times. Okay, so just making crit way better for BM. Or like it may already be good, but like it's just giving it more value. Aspect of the cheetah now also increases movement speed by 15% for another 8 seconds. That'll actually feel pretty good. Disengage increases the range of all your attacks by 5 yards for 5 seconds. I don't know if it's gonna... I mean, I don't dislike that. I feel like both of those are... Even for PvE, I think there's scenarios where those both make sense. That's fine. I feel like you're always going to take aspect of the cheetah, maybe? I don't know. Let's see. Kill shot deals an additional 30% damage over 5. Actually, question, before we go away from this. When you guys were marksman hunters, I don't think this is still in the game, but didn't you guys at one point have a mastery or something where the farther you were from the target, the more damage you did, or you had to like stand still or some shit? What was that called in WoD? Did you guys like that? Yeah, sniper training. Was that like something that you guys enjoyed? Hell no. Okay, never mind. My bad. Kill shot deals an additional 30% damage over 5 seconds. And increases the bleed damage you and your pet deal by 25%. I was looking for someone to make kill shot feel better to press, at least for BM. So maybe something in that direction. Although it kind of made more sense for that to happen on the Dark Ranger tree since there's more kill shot integration. And maybe that'll happen in the spec and class tree, which we haven't seen yet. Every third pet basic attack has a guaranteed crit with... This tree is so boring. With damage further increased by critical strike chance. Your pet's basic attack has a 20% chance to reset the cooldown of kill command and cause kill command to strike a second time. Okay. Consuming frenzied terror, which is the second time thing, has a 50% chance to reset the cooldown of barb shot and deal more damage. Consuming it for survival has a 50% chance of raptor strike or mongoose. And then bestial wrath calls on the pack, summoning a pet from your stable for 6 seconds. Okay. I mean, in general, people are gonna like that, but why can't the whole tree be about that, right? Like, isn't that you're talking about theme? You already did Dark Ranger. Isn't the theme for BM hunters that you're a fucking pet master? Like, you just have you have a zoo? How is this entire tree not buying into that fantasy? People love that shit. People play minion builds and ARPGs. People just love being the commander, you know? Maybe the last node is like, you're a pet commander. Let's see. Vicious Hunt and Pack Coordination now stack and apply twice and are always active during Call of the Wild. See, like, nothing about Pack Leader is as bad as Trickster, Oracle, and Lightsmith because those are, like, actively bad. This is just... I feel like this is that bad, but just on a different level. It's just so uninspired and... Forget power level. This is just so uninspired. And like, how did this get made? Like Hunter, Pack Leader, Beast, BM, and Survival. Both of them use kill command. They have like pets are like an okay amount of their damage. BM, it's everything. How are you not fully buying into like having Stampede up during all of Lust? And this is a go back to the drawing board thing. This is doggy. I don't like this at all. Get owned, Hunters. Okay, Evoker, Flameshaper. Oh, we knew it. I called it. Oh wait, no, I didn't call it. It's the same icon, but we were talking about like what Ruby Adept is gonna be, and Scale Commander. If you haven't seen it, is the Devastation one. It is insane. It's It's probably the best one. And we were wondering what Ruby Adept would have to do to compete with it. And like Scale Commander hard focused on the blue spells. So Ruby Adept is going to focus on like Pyre and stuff. And we hope it's not as binary as like you play Ruby Adept in AoE and Scale Commander in Cleave and single target. But I don't know. Let's see. High hopes. I have high hopes here. Wait, also, didn't they... Is this a little 360 name change? This is originally from rating the spec names. Did they just... This is just called... I mean, cooler name, right? So already we're starting out on the right foot. Okay, I'm going to look at this more from a devastation angle because I'm too stupid to understand how healers work. In 20-second cooldown, engulf your target in Dragon Flame, damaging or healing them. For each of your periodic effects on the target, effectiveness is increased by 50%. So this is just a button you're pressing every 20 seconds. Okay, it's going to need to be supported for sure. Super boring. And just really interesting. Okay. Let's go down the middle. Feeling weird. Engulf causes Fire Breath or Dream Breath to spread to a nearby target. If no valid targets are present, its duration is refreshed. So if you Fire Breath and there's 2 targets and your Fire Breath hits both of them, if you press Engulf, will Fire Breath go to 2 stacks on that other target, or is it only on the main target? Like it's just going to refresh its duration. Is there any weird stuff with this where like you would want to do like a higher quality Fire Breath? Because doesn't Fire Breath work where it does like more, like when you charge it up, you're just getting more upfront damage, but the dot damage is like always the same or something like that? I don't know. Let's go. There's got to be more. Engulf quickens your pulse. So when you press this, you pulses faster, reducing the cast time of your next 2 spells. Okay, instantly, this is way better. I was wondering, like, how is this going to feel as devastation? Just pressing Engulf and, like... But just already pressing button that makes your next 2 spells go faster is... That's going to make this feel 10 times better. So, already good. Engulf gains 1 additional charge. Even better, because there's going to be different times in your rotation where you want to press this. This middle thing has made this way better. This is trending in the direction of being, I think, the first time that we might get a really... I'm kind of projecting here, but the first time we might get a really, really good tree that... started out in a really rough spot. Okay. Engulf gains... Okay, we have the additional charge. Let's read the bottom. Engulf consumes 8 seconds of Fire Breath from the target, detonating it and damaging all nearby targets equal to 300% of the amount consumed, reduced beyond 5 targets. That's... Okay, that feels insane, right? So, like, now this is an on the GCD instant cast with charges that buffs your next 2 casts that is also going to blow up everything around you. And if another target already has Fire Breath on it and you AoE'd them, it's going to put the Fire Breath right back on it. It's going to refresh it. They're going to need to fix dev aggro. Well, not really, right? Because isn't this going to be... You're going to use this a little bit late. Since it's refreshing the target, or since it's refreshing the duration, wouldn't you want to use this a little bit into your Fire Breath instead of, like, right away? I'm pretty sure this is also a full charge Fire Breath angle, and then it would have less duration anyway. Yeah, this is... Yeah, man, a lot of burst damage. Okay, Preservation, Engulf, consumes 8 seconds of Dream Breath from the target, detonating it and healing all near... Oh. As if Preservation needed more buttons to just instantly heal people standing near each other. Okay. So big for Preservation. So far, this is just looking really good right up the middle. Essence abilities are enhanced with Flame, dealing 20% healing or damage done as fire over 8 seconds. Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, that's going to be great for both, right? Just in general, your Essence spenders just deal 20% more damage all the time. And then for healers, I think that's like much more interesting, right? You're getting a lot more of a hot profile even from big bursty heals. Although this just sounds like more hot based anyway, right? I don't know. Oh, it's also an extra dot for Engulf value. True. The only thing I'm trying to think of for Preservation is... With DPS, Engulf makes a lot more sense, but like, this is like, I guess it's like a spot heal, right? Is that how this is going to play? Like, I guess in most scenarios, this is something you're using on a tank in like Mythic Plus, but using that on a tank in Raid is kind of bad. You're using it as an AoE nuke, but like, it's also spot healing them. It's a spot heal that blows up and heals everyone else and them. Okay, because I told you I'm too stupid to understand healer. I'm trying to keep up. Engulf reignites in Kindle, extending its duration and effectiveness by 25%. That's first choice node. Second one is Fire Breath dot is increased by 20%. Okay, so you're almost certainly taking, in AoE at least, you're taking the Fire Breath one because you're like exploding it and you're also doing the Giga one, I think. Is this a good choice node or is this just a simming thing? So when you press Engulf, it's going to reignite your Enkindle and it's going to just make, I mean, you're not really going to think about that. I don't know. That one's fine. Renewing Blaze also applies to one nearby injured ally. Ooh, whoa, hold up. That is so good. Oh, wow. The only thing that's kind of a problem is it's nearby injured, so I wonder how it's going to work. It'd be really, really nice if you could give it to someone next to you that you know is going to take a bunch of damage. But like, imagine it jumps to someone who's low that doesn't need help. Like, for example, Renewing Blaze is one of the most misused buttons ever. It is practically worthless against a bunch of things that will kill you. And it is as strong as any defensive in the game at the right kind of damage. And typically that kind of damage looks like a bunch of raid damage going out over the course of 10 to 15 seconds. Or a really hard-hitting dot on you, both of which are more often defined in Raid than in Mythic Plus. But even in Mythic Plus, you Evoker players know there's scenarios where Renewing Blaze is great, right? But like, if you were to give Renewing Blaze to someone who's already going to immune something, or has greater invis for it, or alter time, they don't need Renewing Blaze at all. But the hunter you're right next to that might be at full health going into it really does. And you can't give it to them on purpose because they're not currently injured. So basically, I just have an issue with how this is applied. I hope this just goes on the closest. Like, it in one nearby... Okay, it's probably made the right way because one nearby injured ally is probably making it, on average, better to be used when you're not thinking about it, but it could also make this really hard to be valuable when you're using it correctly. So it's going to be better for people who are not really preparing for it, but it's going to be worse for people who are trying to make it as powerful as it can be. I don't know. It'll require some testing, but that could be really cool, and the idea is really cool. Your wounds have a small chance to cauterize. Healing you for 30% chance of damage taken occurs more often from attacks that deal high damage. This is a great choice node because a lot of times you're probably just going to take, like I think you're going to take the second one all the time. Like, it depends on how much healing it does over the course of a fight. But like, the first one is going to be really hard to actually be useful. Oh no, it totally depends. Because the thing is like, the way that raid damage works in this game is a lot of people, and this comes down to like using health pots and stuff. A lot of people will be like, oh, someone's calling to like mass health pot a damage event. And you're like, well, I'm going to live without health pot, so I'm not going to do it. And I know I'm not going to die. But health potting still has value because it makes smart healing heal other people that actually have already used their healthstone and are going to die. Like, if two people are going down to 0%, I wish I could show you this visually. In the raid frames, healers are going to focus on those two people. If you know you're not going to die and have a healthstone, you probably should use it. Because that other person going down, healers are choosing whether to spot heal you or them, and they could choose you for zero reason, but if you Hellstone, you remove that option from them, and using that same kind of philosophy across a raid will allow healers to target people who need that kind of stuff more. Not every fight is like this, but like Rashok is exactly like this. So if you were to press Renewing Blaze, even when only you need it, it is going to go to someone that gets value. If it's like when you're dunking in the thing in the battery in the middle and like the entire raid's taking damage, super good ability for this. You're going to make one other person not need spot healing, and even though a bit of it will be overhealing and you didn't put it on exactly the right person, regardless on who it goes on, you are going to save deaths overall in progression because your healers are making better decisions on who is actually in danger. So it's going to have more value than just Draconic Instincts in general, but I think this is better than you'd think it is initially, even if you're not using it exactly right. Good shout on the water break. Okay, we haven't we haven't read the left side, right? Oh, here we go. Hover and Deep Breath travel 50% faster, and Hover travels 50% further. This is really funny. So I feel like this, if you change between Shape of Flame and Trailblazer a lot, I can imagine people dying to using Trailblazer. Both expecting Hover to take them farther, and then also expecting Hover to take you not as far, and you hovering off the edge. Really funny. Like, there's actually a version of this in the game, even though it's a bug. Have any of you guys who played Demon Hunter, have you ever procced a Fell Rush that goes twice as far or more than you intended? That feeling? That is basically, if you frequently play the other Soulbind. If you play the other hero talent or play this other choice node, you're going to kind of get used to using Hover throughout the expansion that is either a procced longer one or a shorter one, and you'll kind of have to remember which one you are, which is pretty funny. So Be prepared to laugh at your Evoker friends for hovering off the edge or not making it out of a mechanic because they think it's going farther. That'd be good. And what does Shape of Flame do? Tail Swipe and Wing Buffet. Scorch enemies and blind them with Ash, causing their next attack within 4 seconds to miss. So that one's really, really nice for tanks. It turns both of those abilities into a like a damage reduction. But the first one is better for you, so no one's ever going to take the second one. Woohoo! Fuck tanks. Down one more. Critical strike chance against targets above... Wait, what? Critical strike chance against targets above 50%. Huh? I'm assuming some words are missing here? No? Wait, is my brain broken? It says health... Critical chance increased by 10%. My brain is so broken. Do you guys know what happened? I read them as like, I read health increased by 10%, and I was like, wow, that's insane. They're getting 10% passive health increase. And then I thought they like missed some words on the first line. Yeah, that is definitely a dench moment. Okay, so critical strike chance against target above 50% increased by 10%. Cool. Also kind of plays into their mastery for DPS. Living Flame, Reversion, and Azure Strike critical strikes have a 100% increased chance to trigger Essence Burst. This is a great tree. This is a banger. And they did something really smart. So when they made Scale Commander, which is also a super banger, I kind of assumed because of it being called Ruby Adept, which they changed it to Flameshaper, much better name, but clearly it was going to be involved with Flame. There's a decent side of Flame from the preservation side, and then also Devastation has a literal entire like part of their tree that is red, right? I thought it would have been kind of boring for them to do a binary Scale Commander is all about Disintegrate and Flameshaper is all about Pyre. It didn't say the word Pyre one time here, so it's not going to shoehorn you into just playing whichever spender you're currently using a lot. It's giving you a realistic choice for both builds in all content. And both of them sound super fun and super different. This is great. Devastation, eating next expansion. I think they have two. Devastation is probably, so far, only second to Ret Paladin in amazing choices for hero talents. But unfortunately, you don't have Spatial Paradox, so similar to why Feral Druids didn't get brought for 10 years because they didn't have Innervate, as long as Aug is the only spec, regardless of tuning, that has that, you won't get brought anyway until they give you that. Okay, so Flameshaper good. Spell Slinger, which was the name of a very fun Wildstar class, and the second mage one that we've seen so far. We've only seen Frostfire, and until the most recent hero talents before this, it was the best tree in the game. Let's see if they continue the banging. There's a dev note on this one. All right, let's check it out. I'm gonna have to scroll so far down. Here we go. Dev note. Note, Spell Slinger splinters are themed and tuned based on your active spec. Arcane Splinters are named Arcane Splinters and deal moderate arcane damage. Frost Splinters are named Frost Splinters and deal light frostful damage. Those specifics have been omitted from this mock-up for the sake of tooltip readability, as both spec splinters serve the same purpose. Woo! Woo! Okay, going to Spell Slinger. When you consume Nether Precision or Winter's Chill, what the fuck does that mean? Is that like shooting in Iceland? Sorry, I don't play Wizard. Clear casting, so it's like clear cast procs. Okay. All right. Conjure a splinter that fires at your target. Conjure raw magic into a sharp projectile that deals damage. Splinters embed themselves into their target, dealing additional damage over 16 seconds. Cool. Casting Arcane Surge or Icy Veins, their main cooldowns, conjures 8 splinters, so they're going to be doing big damn. I'm assuming only on your main target. And whenever you conjure one, you have a 100% chance to conjure an additional. Okay, making your cooldowns way better for both specs. You have a 40% increased movement speed during alter time. Oh man, the thing's fired up. We'll do with that. Displacement has a 50% longer duration, 25% longer range, and leaves behind a mirror image. That's also crazy. Okay, wait. What is the DR on mirror image? It's a 20% DR? I mean, fucking why not? Okay. Shifting Power fires a barrage of 8 splinters at random enemies within 40 yards over its duration. Now just make those splinters pulse AoE and then we're in fucking business. While a target under the effects of Nether Tempest or Winter's Chill, 20% of the damage dealt by a splinter also is dealt to nearby enemies. Oh my fucking god. Near damage reduced beyond 5 targets. Direct damage from arcane splinters resets the duration of Nether Tempest. This is sick. Their prismatic barrier, arcane, and ice barrier can absorb up to 50% more damage based on your missing health. They're actually just the main characters of this game. I don't even need to read. Dude, do we read the rest of this nonsense? Like, what's the point? Okay, can absorb 50% more damage based on your missing health, max effectiveness when under 50. Does that apply to mass barrier? Because isn't mass barrier just putting up your barrier on other... Or no, isn't it a different spell? It should. So if you can use this while your party's lower, your mass barrier is 50% better. Yo. Your mirror image summons an extra clone. Mirror image now reduces all damage taken by an additional 5%. I mean, why not, right? Direct damage from a splinter is a 5% chance to summon an arcane echo or an icy comet that deals damage to all nearby enemies and increases the damage enemies take from you by 6% for 6 seconds. Let's just not even read the bottom yet. Let's just wait. The first 8 times an enemy is damaged by your orb on either orb, conjure a splinter that fires the damaged target, and then just in general, orb damage increased by 10. Whenever a splinter is removed or recalled, it explodes, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Yeah. Okay. Each time you conjure a splinter, increase the damage for your next supernova by 18% or ice nova by 6, stacks up to 30 times. So it's going to make supernova and ice nova sick and not something you have to press all the time, but when you do, it's a big burst of damage. Gain 2% increased critical strike chance and crit strike damage. Worst node on the tree. Weird. Recall all embedded splinters to you. Wait, how do you do this? It's like a button. Like Splinter Storm is a button. Recall all embedded splinters to you, dealing their damage, periodic damage instantly. After a brief delay, unleash a devastating barrage of splinters, dealing damage to your target for each splinter in the Splinter Storm. Splinter Storm grants you clear casting or applies Winter's Chill to its target. It happens when it reaches 8 stacks. So isn't that just pressing your cooldowns, or I guess just getting enough procs? You instantly get 8 when you press your button. So this sounds really cool. Mages have 2 trees so far, and I think they're both 2 of the very best ones in the game. This one is what? It's just Arcane and Frost. Very sick. All right. Oh, yes. All right, guys. It's my time, by the way. This is my time. This is my time. Monk, we have 2 Windwalker trees on this fucking blessed day. I'm so ready. I have so much hopium. There's so many things that need to help this beautiful... Guys, you want to know why people complain so much about Windwalker not getting changes? Because Windwalker fucking owns. When Windwalker's done right, it's just the GOAT class. So that's why. So I want them to give me the good shit, baby. Let's go! Shado-Pan. Which I think of the 3 names, Master of Harmony, Shado-Pan, and Conduit of the Celestials, this is the least hype name. So let's fucking get into it. This one can be bad, and I'm not even mad. As long as it doesn't say Rushing Jade Wind specifically, unless Rushing Jade Wind is being completely reworked. No, do not PP laugh. No, you're PP laughing. Does it actually say Rushing Jade Wind? Okay, 1 second. Let's see. Dealing damage equal to your maximum health generates a flurry charge. Okay. That's going to be super interesting because damage... This is really interesting that they did this. So throughout an expansion, the ratio at which you do damage compared to the ratio at which you gain maximum health is not linear. It's totally different. So this is actually going to either get significantly worse throughout the expansion or significantly better in every patch, which is the most iconic monk thing ever because monks struggle from verse being a good stat, which just means the rest of your stats fucking stink. And they constantly need to be tuned individually every patch because they don't scale with gear like everyone else does. And yeah, so they're going to have to do the same thing where they retune this every patch because the balance of health is totally different than the balance of the damage you're doing. Yeah, also just don't give me Fort. It's a DPS loss, by the way. So for each 400 energy you spend, unleash all flurry charges as flurry strikes, dealing physical damage per charge. So I like this in concept right away. Yeah, who used rally? The only thing is there's a button, which is... I'm not a big fan of this button. I know some people are. I hate Serenity, but this also makes Serenity a lot worse, right? Because you're not spending energy in this. At least unless they rework Serenity. So, like, this just makes that, like, 10 times worse. Which is good. Fuck Serenity. Any cooldown in this game that encourages you to cap on your resources is absolutely dog shit. Okay, going left first. I'm feeling the good news is on the left side. Flurry strikes has a 15% additional chance to crit. Okay. Enemies who die... Okay, well, okay, let's get back to that. Enemies who die within 5 seconds of being damaged by a flurry strike explode, dealing damage to uncontrolled enemies within 8 yards. Uncontrolled enemies? Why specifically mention that? What the fuck? Like, not mind-controlled? Oh, I see, so it doesn't break CC. Extremely hype. It could be a single target AoE thing. High impact is, like, also making the ones near the end of the pull feel better if, like, mobs are dying. I don't know. I'm okay with it. Vivify always heals you for an additional 30% of its total value. And this is between Brewmaster and Windwalker, okay? And you have some instant Vivifies now. Chi Burst, Chi Wave, and Expel Harm now leech 20% of damage dealt. All of those buttons do 0 damage. But maybe over the course of a fight, it feels better. Whatever. Flurry Strikes increases your agi by 1% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 20 times. So they're assuming that you are going to stack a ton of these to make this have any kind of value. All right, let's read the middle. Striking the same target 5 times within 2 seconds grants 2% haste, our worst stat. Multiple instances of this effect may overlap, stacking up to 10 times. Okay. Damage dealt by Fist of Fury and Keg Smash counts as double towards Flurry Charge generation. Okay, that's going to make... This is making a lot more sense because they were assuming that. Fist of Fury damage increased by 10% and Keg Smash damage increased by 30%. Love getting Fist of Fury and Rising Sun Kick to do more damage passively rather than being constantly upkept by having tier bonuses buff them. Abilities that spend energy deal an additional 15% damage. Okay. Every 50 energy spent reduces the cooldown of Storm, Earth, and Fire, Serenity, and Weapons of Order. Hold the phone. Did I just... Where's the Weapons of Order reveal? Oh, Brewmaster have Weapons of Order. Oh, I just got so... I'm so sad. Don't haw me, please. I can't take it right now. Oh, that's so sad, man. Okay, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Feline Stomp is definitely not going to be in next expansion, or Jade Fire, whatever it's called, on Windwalker's tree, and Weapons of Order is going to replace it for sure. Actually, I don't even know how Weapons of Order would play now. It was better last expansion, but Jade Fire Stomp definitely turbo stinks. Get that the fuck out. But stop pee-pee laughing. That makes me think that there's something even worse. Please stop. Okay, attacks penetrate 10% of the target's armor. Just in general. So we have armor pen now. I haven't heard of that in a while. When you become injured, summon a Whirling Steel, increasing your parry chance and avoidance by 15% for 6 seconds. What? So what does becoming injured mean in this game? Is that sub 35? Does anyone know what the... And does this have an ICD of some kind? Because that's kind of insane. I'm just going to guess it's at least sub 50. I mean, that's definitely going to save deaths for sure. Not like monks really need any defensive help. When you dodge or parry an attack, reduce damage taken by 10% for the next 6 seconds. So Brewmaster thing. Okay. Blackout Kick deals an additional 20% critical damage and increases the damage of the next set of Flurry Strikes by 10%. Okay. So giving Blackout Kick some more value. And let's look at the bottom. So every 10 Flurry Strikes, which could be pretty often, become infused with Wisdom of the Wall. What a fucking name. Wait, they couldn't come up with... Okay. Wisdom of the Wall grants you the following effects. Your critical strikes deal an additional 30% damage. Wait, hold up. Your Mastery's effect is increased by 25%. Versatility now increases your dodge and critical strike chance by 25% of its effect. And Flurry Strikes now deal additional shadow damage to all uncontrolled enemies within 6 yards. Okay, I was kind of laughing at the wall bit, but that's kind of insane. You're going to have this up almost permanently. This is going to be up all the time. Okay, so this is really weird. This is a weird way for Blizzard to solve the versatility issue with stat scaling. They're basically, like, when a class's verse is good, you're acknowledging that all the rest of their stats are bad, but they're like, okay, monks, fuck it. Just go ahead and stack verse. Half of this is Brewmasters, and tanks always like verse, and half of this is Windwalker, and you guys stack verse anyway. So now you can stack verse, but also we'll scale an actual good stat with it for free. Bro, it takes 400 energy. Wait, what is it? It isn't 4... It's 4,000 energy. Wait, what? Oh, 4,000 energy. Can someone hit up logs real quick and assume nothing changes, which obviously it will, and tell me how long it's going to take you to... It's not 4,000 energy. It's 10 times your health. Oh, yeah, that's wrong. Yeah, you're right. It's not 4,000 energy. It's how long it takes you to do 10 times your health and damage, with some benefit with Fist of Fury contributing more. And slightly delayed by you having to actually spend... Dude, I really don't like this. Because this is super powerful, but like... okay, it's going to feel slightly better if you are playing Storm, Earth, and Fire. And really, if they can move your tree around and you can also get Spiritual Focus, you can kind of move... Like, Bone Dust Brew is weird, and it's not very fun because you have to, like, basically just use clones with it, and then you just become a one-dimensional 1-minute class. But, like, if you actually take clones and Spiritual Focus, you could always make use of having this. My only thought is you still do the most of your damage on a 2-minute window. Couldn't you see this proccing 20 seconds before your 2 minutes, and then that just feels like shit? Or feeling like you want to AFK energy spend so this actually procs during your... I mean, yeah, but you're going to have this up pretty constantly, though. It says following effects, so it's all. You only get 1 buff. It's AoE versus single target. I mean, yeah, but do you still like this tree, though? Like, I don't know. Monk has so much sauce. This is... Wowhead wrote it incorrectly. Oh, every 10 flurry strikes, you become infused with a Wisdom of the Wall for 20 seconds. You do not get all of the value of Wisdom of the Wall. You get 1 of them. Okay, so that actually almost makes this better. It's not literally more powerful, but it's better design. Because, no, it's all of them. Okay, let me look at Blizzard's thing. Here we go. You said Wowhead... Put it correct, put it bad. Every 10 flurry strikes become infused with a Wisdom of the Wall. Not become infused with Wisdom of the Wall. And then, well, no, it does mention all of them. Yeah, it is all, I think. It's just the fact that they put A there is weird. It is a little ambiguous, but read the actual blue post part. Okay. Shado-Pan Capstone. Wisdom of the Wall. Every 10 flurry strikes... become infused with a Wisdom of the Wall for 20 seconds. Wisdom of the Wall grants the following effects. Wait, it says the exact same thing, first of all, but guys, I think it's only giving you 1. Like, it's super ambiguous, man. It says it grants the following effects, not grants 1 of the following effects, but this seems like kind of like a roll the bones kind of shit, where like this is, to me, the better design angle of this would be you're like proccing this all the time and it's rotating through these all the time. I feel like this proccing less often and then giving you all of them, this is going to make you so much more powerful that when this isn't up, you're going to be doing nothing. So you either need to have this up all the time. I don't know. Either way, I don't think I'm a fan of this. I just feel like there's so much cool stuff you can do with Monk. I just don't think this is one of them. This will probably be powerful, but I'm just not I'm not a huge fan. There's no way you can read other trees and then read this and think this is sick. Imagine thinking Chi Burst, Chi Wave, and Expel Harm leeching damage is something you would put down and people would want to see that. The Vivify, healing other people and healing you, is like somewhat value, but I'd like to have that make you actually want to do that more and like use a GCD on it. Like the fact that we just read Spell Slinger and then went to this is... I think this thing has potential, though. Also, it's just the most Monk thing of all time to make it based on your max health. I really wonder if they considered how max health and your damage scales. Like, the way this works, I think, is if someone uses... Unless this is based on your base health with no buffs, which I guess they could do. But if someone rallies or gives you fort, you literally is a damage loss. Like, why even kind of encourage weird shit like that? But it's probably just base health. Okay, so first Windwalker tree, not a fan. And that's so sad because I feel like Windwalker... Like, even Windwalker this expansion, like... I think Windwalker, if you take the right talents, is the best version of Windwalker ever. If you could just choose purely gameplay related and you chose however many talents you have here, it's the best version of Windwalker to ever exist. But you just play some ass. You play bad talents that are not fun. And AoE Touch of Death is nonsense. So part of this is they're just going to have to fix that in the expansion anyway. All right, so let's read Conduit of the Celestials. What is it? You mean weird shit like increasing Warlock's HP during Shadowlands to increase their DPS? Not like that ever happened. What kind of point are you making? That was fucking stupid too. Do you think I'm a defender of that? Like, oh, well, that was the good times. Like, what are you fucking talking? That shit was horrible. Okay, let's see. Conduit of the Celestials is for Mistweaver and Windwalker. All right, it's got cool icons. The August Celestials empower you. Oh, there's dev notes. Okay, let's hit the devy. Hit the Celestial Conduit's channel will not break to using a defensive utility or movement spell. Okay. And Heart of the Jade Serpent's required stacks to activate for Mistweaver will be changed to 16 when talented and avail the Pride passive. Got it. The August Celestials empower you, causing you to radiate nature damage onto enemies and healing onto 5 injured allies within 20 yards over 4 seconds, split evenly among them. Wait. The August Celestials empower you, causing you to radiate nature damage onto enemies and healing up to 5 injured allies within 20 yards over 4 seconds. It's a spell, so you cast this. 1.5 minute cooldown. Healing and damage increased by 6% per enemy struck up to 30. But it's split. But, okay, it's split, but it increases. Oh my god. What the fuck is this? A 4-second channel? You may move while channeling, but casting. Even if it's hasted, you don't even like haste. You may move while channeling, but casting other healing or damaging spells cancels this effect. You don't even need me to say it, right? Like, you can, somewhere in the middle, it's a bit ambiguous, but every single one that's insane and every single one that sucks, you can tell right away. This shit stinks. This stinks. Let's see if it gets any better. The healing of enveloping mist and mistweaver. Okay. Fist of Fury and Spinning Crane Kick deal 50% more a guy. Zwen's Guidance. Teachings of the Monastery is a 15% chance to refund a charge when consumed. Ooh, I like that. I like that choice node. And damage of Tiger Palm is increased by 30%. Okay. Yeah. Just fucking Tiger Palming. Mistweaver consuming 8 stacks of Shaylun's Gift causes Yulon to decrease the cooldown time of Renewing Mist, Rising Sun Kick, Life Cocoon, and Thunder Focus Tea by 100% for 8 seconds. I don't even know what any of those things mean. Windwalker consuming 30 chi. 30 chi. Okay, that's a decent amount. Causes Yulon to decrease the cooldown time of Rising Sun Kick, Fist of Fury, Strike of the Windlord, and Whirling Dragon Punch by 100% for 8 seconds. That is like a mini Serenity window, kinda. But like you're gonna actually have to... It doesn't remove the chi cost. So as opposed to the big issue of Serenity, which is that your energy is completely irrelevant, you'd have to still go into it with high chi, preferably, and you're still going to have to generate, which doesn't make energy irrelevant. I actually really like this. That's... Dude, I almost wish that was like a talent or something. I think that could be really, really fun. It doesn't take it off CD. It just cools down twice as fast. It decreases the cooldown time by 100%. So I guess that could make it half the cooldown, but I could also see it. It's 8 seconds of double cooldown reduction. It means it resets. I think it's kind of interesting. That sounds like it's going to come up instantly. Because it's not saying that like you get double the CDR. It's saying it's reducing the cooldown time by 100. That sounds like it's a little mini Serenity window, right? Well, not kind of. They just in that you can use... That's not quite how Serenity works, but... Either way, moving on. Fortify Brew grants an Absorb Shield for 25% of your maximum health. What's the cooldown on Fort Brew? Oh, 6 minutes. Okay, cool. Or 2 if you want to spend 2 talents in it. Got it. All right, so 6 minutes we can get it absorbed for 25% of your health. That's pretty good. Pretty close to like passive permanent DR, like gaining AMS randomly. Yeah. You heal for... Dude, I'm so jaded. Okay, you heal for 10... I just turn into the average Windwalker complainer whenever I read some dog shit like this. You heal for 10% of your max health instantly when you activate Celestial Conduit and you receive 15% less damage for the duration. That's horrible. Let's go down the middle. Tiger Palm, that's Mistweaver. 15% chance for Zwen to claw your target for fizz damage, healing a nearby ally for 20%, 200% of the damage done. Chances increased while invoke Yulon the Jade Serpent or invoke Chi-Ji the Red Crane is active. Okay, so... Tiger Palm just becomes like a strong random like smart heal ally who's low. Okay, and then for damage, Tiger Palm has a 15% chance to cause Zwen to claw your target for physical damage, healing a nearby ally for 100% of the... Oh, like, so in the first part of this, it was like sick. It's like a healing node for Mistweaver, but it's just fucking worse for Windwalker and also just isn't doing anything of value. Like, okay, yeah. We're going to bring a support Windwalker this week. That's good. Also, has to be a typo, maybe? I don't know. I mean, either way, it stinks. Also, just, you know what doesn't get me out of... I'm so jaded. This is so funny. You know what doesn't get me out of bed in the morning? Tiger Palm integration. The least fun generator doggy spell of all time. Like, okay. After Zwen assists you, your next Enveloping Mist cast time is reduced by 50% and causes Nijuao to grant an Absorb Shield to 5 nearby allies for 5% of your max health. After Zwen assists you, Your next blackout kick causes Nijuel to stomp at your target's location, dealing damage to nearby enemies. Damage reduced beyond 5 targets. Well, do you have like more uptime on your Tiger now? You must for this kind of stuff to be on the tree, right? Because like if your Tiger isn't up significantly more, then these would have to be significantly more powerful. Okay. Your movement speed. Well, let's keep reading. Your movement speed. Max, that's the proc you read from before. Oh, am I crazy? Oh. Well, it says Tiger Palm has a 15% chance to cause Zwen to claw your target. I assume that's only when Zwen's out. So you're saying Tiger Palm has a 50% chance to spawn Zwen, and then he also attacks healing in nearby chance to increase. Oh, never mind. Okay, so chance is increased when it's actually active. So he will actually just randomly show. Okay, that makes it a bit better. I was assuming this whole thing was only when it was out, but it's just better when you have your cooldowns up and spawns him randomly throughout the fight. I mean, that's fine. The fact that it's on Tiger Palm doesn't really matter because they needed to choose a rotational button that has a chance to spawn him, and they chose one that you press probably more than anything else. So it's fine that it's based on Tiger Palm. And then after he assists you, okay, so they just want the big, I mean, obviously this is based on Celestials, but they just want all the Celestials out all the time. They want to give you the vibes of the Rider of the Apocalypse tree where like the 4 horsemen are aiding you, but they just want it to be the Celestials. So they're using half of the kind of an issue in my opinion with the Rider of the Apocalypse tree is they're using the half the tree to kind of make the Celestials worth something to you. But, oh, I just read Rushing Jade Wind. I'm mad. The movement speed is increased by 25% during Celestial Conduit and for 3 seconds after. Totally irrelevant. They're the fastest class in the game. Celestial Conduit can be recast once during its duration to call upon all of the August. Ooh. So while you're channeling it, you press the button again and it spawns all of the... That's kind of sick. We like that. That's cool as fuck. That makes this feel way better. Because it is 4-second channel, but also you are... It's a 4-second channel, but like you're using 2 globals during it. So, wait, how long does it spawn them? Or does it not spawn them? It's just they assist you. So they do these assisting things? Okay, wait a second. So it can be recast once during iteration to call upon all of them to assist you at 200% effectiveness. So all it does is... How long does this last, though? Because, like, doesn't it have to be a duration? No. Not how long is the channel. Like, for example, for Zwen to assist you, you have to press Tiger Palm. While you're channeling... You can't press Tiger Palm, so Zwen can't assist you. So this has to spawn... Oh, all it does is it just does all of the assists once. Oh, okay. So by channeling this, Yulon or whatever is going to... So when this ends, you'll have maybe 8 seconds of 0 CDs on these buttons. And then also Zwen is going to claw things and heal people. And over here, we read what the Red Crane does. Okay, let's keep reading up here. Gain refreshing Jade Wind while Chi-Ji, the Red Crane, the Jade Serpent is active. Okay. Windwalker gain rushing Jade Wind while Zwen, the White Tiger, is active. Okay, so you're getting rushing Jade Wind, but you're getting rushing Jade Wind for free. So part of the huge issue with rushing Jade Wind is having to interact with it and you're just pressing a 6-second maintenance buff in a class that's already super locked down on what you want to press. It fucks up your whole flow and it's absolutely dog shit. And currently it's tuned really poorly, but that doesn't really matter in the expansion because that can just change in 2 seconds. Did I skip a node? Where did I skip a node? I don't think I skipped a node. I read everything on the left so far. Okay. Going back to this. So that's fine with me. But why does that matter? Okay. So what's the other option? So refreshing Jade Wind's duration is increased by 10 seconds. Windwalker, rushing Jade Wind's duration is increased by 4 seconds and multiple uses may overlap. So again... It's just really simple. Unless we see an extremely different version of Rushing Jade Wind than exists currently in the game, anything that says Rushing Jade Wind on it is total and absolute shit. So we can say like maybe like there's so many ways to design Rushing Jade Wind where it's really fucking good. It's just bad, right? It's probably one of the worst abilities in the entire game, but it's been great in the past. So I'm not opposed to this saying Rushing Jade Wind, assuming they change it. I mean, this tree already stinks. So the Rushing Jade Wind part can actually redeem it if they just make that button better. Okay, going down. Refreshing Jade Wind and Spinning Crane Kick have a chance to cause Chi-Ji to quickly rush to 5 targets, healing each target. Rushing Jade Wind and Spinning Crane Kick have a chance to cause Chi-Ji to quickly rush to 5 targets, doing damage. you don't even have to take Rushing Jade Wind really for... Dude, it's crazy. I mean, they're literally forcing you into Rushing Jade Wind. Well, not really. You don't have to talent Rushing Jade Wind. You could literally just take this talent, and then Rushing Jade Wind will happen regardless. And then this one just works with Spinning Crane Kick, right? So you just don't have to take Rushing Jade Wind. But yeah, I mean, if anyone at Blizzard is listening to this, and maybe you're not because I'm clearly biased towards Monk and I'm upset with this stuff. Hopefully, I usually try to stay objective, but it's hard for me to do because I really like this spec. Rushing Jade Wind needs Jesus Christ. It needs all of it. Whatever religion you believe in, whoever's the like big guy, they need that. Rushing Jade Wind needs that. Okay. Going down. You switch between alignments after an August Celestial assists you, increasing a correspondent secondary stat by 3%. Casting Jadefire Stomp. No, I'm not even reading that. I'm not even fucking reading that. Oh, wait, it's Mistweaver only? Wait, no, that's just Vivify. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, nah, give me... I'm just not even reading it. I'm not even reading it. You do not play Windwalker if you think that pressing Jadefire Stomp as a dogshit 10-second maintenance buff is not just miserably dogshit. Nah, dude, I wasn't even gonna put this in really bad. I was gonna put this in kind of bad until I read Jadefire Stomp in the fucking bid. Ain't no way. Get that out of here immediately. So the two Windwalker options are either mid or horrible, which is yeah, that's sad. That's not good. All right, how many do we have left here? We have 3 left. Okay, Farseer. So the first look at Shaman. Let's go, baby. And Mavy's spamming. I love Resto Shaman. Woo, Resto Shaman. Yeah, Farseer Thrall. Okay, so I can already tell that this is gonna be bad because Mavy is going through it right now. Okay, so Ellie and Resto. And we really need Farseer to be good for Resto Shamans because without ever seeing it, if there's anything based on its name alone that I know will be horrible is Totemic. So Resto Shaman really needs this one to pull through. Primordial Wave calls an ancestor to your side for 6 seconds. Okay, crazy good theme. Unleash Life calls an ancestor to your side for 6 seconds. Yep, I love Thrall. I see it. Yep. Whenever you cast a healing or damaging spell, the ancestor will cast a similar spell. But just for Ellie, they don't do anything. That's hype. Okay. Your ancestor's spells are 20% more powerful. Okay, you guys don't think this hits the theme? This is sick theme. This is like super sick shaman theme. You're summoning an ancestor and they're like doing shit. That's fucking sick. The theme's awesome. Ancestors have a 15% chance to call another ancestor when they expire. Okay, a little RNG high rolling. When an ancestor is called, they reduce the cooldown of Fire Ellie and Storm Ellie by 10 seconds. Okay, so you're going to get a little CDR on one of your big buttons. And Resto, when an ancestor is called, they reduce the cooldown of Riptide by 2 seconds. Okay. If I remember, Riptide is still something you pretty much use on CD, and it like, doesn't it also generate something like it increases the cast speed of your next spell or something like that? So that's actually nice. Is that nice? Or isn't Resto Shaman weird? Like they went through a time where Riptide was like all of their healing and then like they didn't chain heal and now they're like kind of back to chain healing again. I don't know. Reduces the cooldown of Nature's Guardian by 10 seconds and causes it to heal for an additional 5%. I think Nature's Guardian isn't it that like passive thing on their tree? Yeah. That's pretty rough. Shamans are one of the weakest defensive classes in the game. So hopefully this isn't their defensive node. Let's see. Earth Shield has a additional 3 charges and heals you for 25% more. It is. I think this is their defensive node. That's so good. This is probably the weakest defensive choice node of every single, not spec, of every hero talent, in which every spec has 2 of. And Ellie and Resto Shamans are probably the two squishiest specs in the game, with Moonkin and, depending on the profile of the fight, Healer Priest sometimes. And this is the weakest, I think the weakest defensive node I've seen. Even Moonkins were better. Moonkins were pretty good. Yeah, that's crazy. Oh yeah, but I guess they can onk as a defensive in it and you don't actually die. So that's sick. Dude, shout out. Do you guys remember in the MDI in season 1 where Zalia died and then got battle onked and then died again and then got battle rezzed and then died and then he onked again, and then like that French stream didn't understand how onk worked on the tournament realm and they were like calling them cheaters and shit? Yeah, it was all in Halls of Valor. That was an all-time great moment. Just like the full French rage was coming out. Okay. Up top, Ancestors lash an additional 2 seconds. Lava Burst has a 8% chance to call down an ancestor, and Riptide has a... Okay, besides the bad defensive node, and I'm sure it gets worse because maybe super dobby. So far, I fuck with this. I think this is good. Like the who loves gambling? Me. Woo. All right, maybe. I know. Okay, but I think at least for theme, this seems like pretty good. I guess the ancestors don't do enough right now. We need to. Okay, so now we know how to call ancestors, and we know how to make them more powerful, and we know they can give us some CDR. But like, what do the ancestors do that matters? That's the thing that we need to figure out now. Increases Maelstrom by 25 and mana by 5. Oh, what a node. What an absolute node for Resto Shaman. Increases the damage of Earthshock, Ellie Blast, and Earthquake by 8%. Okay. And Resto increases the healing done by Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Wellspring, Downpour, and Chain Heal by 8%. Okay, so just you do more healing. Completely irrelevant node because just actually, how many nodes have I seen that are like this? Usually there's like one boring your spells do more damage node, but like you can just fix that in class tuning. Like there could just be a node that says this tomorrow. It usually needs to be a bigger number to really accentuate certain spells that you wouldn't get from your other choice of hero talent. But like something this small is just so, why is this even here kind of thing? Okay. But yeah, actually it's the tuning knob. Good point. Yeah. Like for example, if Farseer is simming a lot less than another thing, the tuning knob could be this. It's a lot easier to tune something like this than all this other stuff. I don't know. Lava Burst gains an additional charge and deals 5% increased damage. That's kind of nice. Quality of life, isn't it? I haven't played Ellie in a while, but that sounds like it would be something that's trash. 3 charges now. So I guess if you're not swimming in procs, it doesn't really matter. What is it? Lava Burst overcaps all the time. Well, then wouldn't the extra charge be nice? I don't know. Let's see. All right. Sounds like you guys are not a fan of it. I believe you. And then Riptide gains an additional charge and heals for 5% more. Okay. Again, I still don't know how powerful Riptide is right now. Okay. So I'm still waiting to see what the ancestors do because I get that the calling the ancestors down thing is nice and the CDR is nice, but that's just not good enough. I mean, there's even a node where it's like your ancestors' spells are more powerful, and I know they cast some of your spells, but like they need to do something else. There needs to be like when I read down here, it needs to be like a bunch of power. Using spells with a cast time increases the duration of Spirit Walker's Grace and Spirit Walker's Aegis by 1 second to a maximum of 4. I mean, the nodes this is competing with are like the hover nodes. I mean, it's weak compared to that. Those were some of the best ones. I feel like that's not good enough. Final Calling. When an ancestor expires, they cast Ellie Blast on a nearby enemy. Depends on how often you're calling them down. And when an ancestor expires, they cast Hydro Bubble on a nearby enemy. I was not prepared for Hydro Bubble. Let's see. So surrounds your target in a protective water bubble for 10 seconds. The shield absorbs incoming damage, but the absorb amount decays fully over its duration. I mean, depends on how big it is, but depending on how many times you're calling down an ancestor, I could see Hydro Bubble being like a pretty decent amount of your healing. I don't know why the fact that it absorbs incoming damage, but it's going to decay over its duration makes me think that when this initially spawns, it's going to be huge. Because the scenario is it's a moderate amount and it just doesn't randomly decay. It has to be a real big absorb. So that could be pretty nice. Depends on how often you call them down. And then let's look at the bottom. Your next healing or damaging spells within 10 seconds is instant and deals... This is just when you cast Nature's Swiftness, right? Your next ancestral healing or damage spell within 10 seconds is instant and deals 10% increased damage and healing. If you already know Nature's Swiftness, it is replaced by this and causes Ancestral Swiftness to call an ancestor to your side. This is the worst part of the whole tree. Like, I feel like they were kind of... Some of these nodes were weak, but they were kind of cooking up something here, and it seemed like it was going to all culminate with something that says... Something along the lines of, like, when your ancestors are out, they do this, and it's powerful. Or some kind of extra ancestor synergy. Not CDR related. You already have that. They already mirror your spells, or they cast like spells that are alike to what you're casting. But this needed to do that. Like, I just feel like this thing all culminated with this fucking terrible Ancestral Swiftness node. I don't think this is too far off of being kind of nice. I think this CDR is going to feel good. Because they could proc pretty often. Or no, actually, am I missing something? How do you call ancestors to your side again? Oh, maybe I'm wrong. It's only when you do these things, right? It's not like you get random procs. It is RNG. Oh, 8% proc on Lava Burst. Like, I think if they get it right, like when I think of spawning random things, I'm kind of thinking like Warlock's Diabolist, or I'm thinking even Rider of the Apocalypse. Like, if it's going through ancestors pretty consistently and it's a more static power gain, that feels better. But this seems like they're looks like they're trying to give them a lot of like, if you're giving yourself CDR, these need to be popping out. And I feel like they're not going to be coming out fast enough. Where's the thing where they spawn? I'm missing it. Oh, here it is. Riptide is a 15% chance to call down an ancestor. Lava Burst is an 8% chance. I think they need to... I think the theme is right. I think the calling down the ancestors thing and like half of these nodes involving ancestors are good. I think they need to rework the capstone and they need to give the ancestors more consistent power and make them spawn more often. So basically the way that this spec feels good is that the CDR is something that you're really leaning into. I think that could be fun. Or maybe something we don't know is that the ancestors crank. And then that makes sense. But I think I would rather have the ancestors be more practical and more consistent than super RNG and really powerful. I feel like that just doesn't, especially for healers, that's like a super weird profile. What is it? The issue is that it's random and any Ellie or Resto Shaman main can tell you they really got to get procs when you don't need them. Yeah, I'm just saying, guys, I've read doggy trees and they seem like you have to just remake the tree. And I could name like 4 of them where it's like you just started on the wrong foot and you have to just do it again. I don't think they actually have to do them. I don't think they have to do that here. I think they can turn this around. I don't think this is one of them. I like the idea of calling down the ancestors. I think they're like half of these nodes are good. Half of them are not very great, but even in some of the really good trees, some of the nodes aren't perfect and the bottom is horrible. They need to put this one back in the oven for a bit. I think they have the right idea. It just has to be, just significantly better than this. Okay. I would not rate this highly for sure. This is worse than the Oracle Priests. Okay, stop. Guys, come on. That's what you just said isn't true. And you know that it's not true. Unless you're like so... I can kind of respect being so biased towards your class that, yeah. Yo, dude, okay. You guys are memeing on Hydro Bubble? I think this owns. Like, with enough ancestors, I could see this doing a ton of healing. And saving lives, bro. I can't believe they called that shit Hydro Bubble. All right, 1 second. Before we start the next one, big drink of water, boys. Max, there's a Wowhead Twitter post, and you should read that before looking at the Warlock tree. Okay. Is this the one? Wait. The Ellie Resto Shaman... Farseer tree still doesn't seem to add much to the spec's limited utility. Worst case, they'll be able to see far from the bench. Holy fuck. Oh my god. Okay, I actually want to push back a little bit on this. I think Ellie and Resto need more defensiveness and they need more utility in the game, specifically raid utility or raid buff, which also applies to Mythic Plus now. People refer to them as raid buffs, but I think this expansion that we're in right now has actually been defined by the viability of classes' raid buffs in a dungeon, where they used to kind of be secondary. I don't think that these hero talent trees should be solving that issue, because if they do, they have to do it in both of the options. You know what I mean? And that means, and if they don't do it in both, then you always have to play the hero talent that gives you value, which is bad. So like, I think they need better defensives, and I think they need better utility. They need raid utility, whatever. But like, it should not come from these trees. It should come from when the alpha comes out and we see what their new class and spec trees look like. Like that's where you do that, or you bake it in. You don't do it in the hero talents. Here we go. Clarification for Wither and Hellcaller Warlocks. Hello. We've seen some confusion regarding Hellcaller talents. Please know that Cataclysm and Seed of Corruption will apply Wither, and Wither is instant cast for Destro and Affliction. Okay, love that. All right, so I don't really know how Warlocks work, so we're just gonna try to figure this out, but... Ooh, replacing Corruption. Okay. Replaces Corruption with this and replaces Immolate. Bestow a vile malediction upon the target, burning the sinew and muscle of its host, dealing shadow. I could have just said it's a dot. I can't believe I read all of that. I bet someone had so much fun writing that sentence. Okay. Going down the left. Shadow damage by... Irrelevant. Curse of Tongues applies Curse of Weakness. Or, wait, no. Other way around. That's kind of nice. Save a little GCD in there. Enemies within 10 yards are affected by your Curse of Weakness and Curse of Tongues at 75% effectiveness. Oh, and that's a choice node? That's kind of... That seems real good. We like that. That's real. I mean, that's going to be so nice for just dungeons forever. Okay. Agony damage is increased by 10%. Agony is now a combo skill. Directly recasting Agony within 2 seconds applies Agony to one other nearby enemy. What? So you put up Agony twice on the same target, which will pandemic it, I guess. And then the benefit is you pandemic that Agony at the same time as you're spreading it. And it also removes the need of tab targeting. So you're like, it just sounds like you're, instead of tab targeting, you can just Agony, but you're also it's also pandemicking the dot as well, right? Oh, wait. Never mind. I'm so stupid. You would agony target 1. You don't have to do it to the same target. You agony target 2, you get a 3rd agony for free. That's what it is. And then wither damage, which is immolate, increased by 10%, and it's now a combo skill. Oh, interesting. Directly recasting wither within 2 seconds applies it to one other enemy. So it makes it easier to multi-dot for both specs. Down here, Blackened Soul. Your damaging abilities further corrupt enemies affected by your wither, increasing its stack count by 1. Wait, your damaging abilities further corrupt so when you cast into an enemy that has immolate on it or corruption, it increases its stacks. It's gonna stack, and each time wither increases, it has a chance to become acute, dealing damage to its host every 1 second until one. Oh, this is good, right? Wither will always become acute after reaching 8 stacks no matter what, or when the host reaches 20% health. That's sick. I think it's a really, really cool way to look at dots. Sounds really good. And especially because I'm imagining there can be a lot of interaction with like how many times that's happening. Wither deals 100% damage, but its duration is 50% shorter. Why would you want that? Because wouldn't that also make it... I mean, it's just way more GCDs. I mean, it would just depend on how much damage it does versus the viability of this. Because it's not going to increase the damage of this, right? Maybe it is. Read the next talent, it synergizes. Okay, well, I'm going to read the other choice note first. Wither damage increased by 15%. When Wither gains a stack from Blackened Soul, it has a chance to gain an additional stack. Okay. So, yeah, it's like this choice note is kind of like, do you want a shorter dot or a longer dot? And if you have the longer dot, we'll make it even better. Casting Wither directly or refreshing Wither with less than 4 seconds left causes it to gain 3 stacks instantly. Okay, so that's going to feel a lot better because you're refreshing it much more often, and you're casting it much more often. So, yeah, this one, I mean, it also works with both. But it definitely makes Hate Fury rituals a lot more viable. Also really good with, we mentioned earlier with the dev note that Seed of Corruption applies Wither. So that's going to go insane, right? In AoE. Casting Wither directly. Oh, no. Is that casting Wither directly, though? It's not, right? It's spreading it. It shouldn't be. But it is refreshing it. It is refreshing, yeah. But, like, you would have to take Hate Fury rituals, and you wouldn't be spamming Seed, right? You would be... I mean, Seed spam would still be sick because, I mean, you're just going to be gaining stacks from doing it, right? That seems really good. Let's read the right first. Okay, whatever. When you consume a health stone, you also restore 10% of your max health as Soul Leech. Okay, so an absorb. Sacrifice an Illhoof's design. Sacrifice 10% of your max health. Soul Leech now absorbs an additional 15% of your max health. So this is the defensive node that every class by default needs to get, which I don't understand. That second one seems worse. Is that second one... Is that actually bad? Like, I could see it absorbing more. I could see it absorbing more with, like, less damage, but when you're doing a hard fight that's actually trying to kill you, your max health pool is so relevant, and I just don't even think... I just think that would actually make you die more often. You almost never reach Soul Leech cap? Yeah, it's bad then. Well, I mean, the first one isn't that good either, so if you're just playing Zevrim's Resilience, that is super nothing, which is good, because some classes, turns out, they don't actually need defensives, and Warlocks are one of them. Actually, I wonder how true that would feel if they weren't verse stacking this raid. I felt like Warlocks are certainly not squishy. They're certainly not even mid-defensiveness, but one thing that's happened with class trees is that other classes have surpassed Warlocks in tankiness to where Warlocks, which were once OP, like kind of haven't changed at all. And other classes have like just gone up insane throughout the expansion. So it's just an interesting way to look at it. I felt different about Warlocks this expansion. And then Blackened Souls deals 5% increased damage per stack of Wither. And then just in general, also, Agony deals damage and Wither deals damage 10% faster. And the bottom, the thing that ties it all together, the thing that ruined the Farseer tree, in my opinion. Dark magic erupts from you and corrupts your soul for 20 seconds, causing enemies suffering from your Wither to take Shadow Flame damage and increase its stack count by 3 on a 1-minute CD. I'm not familiar with Affliction and Destro, but in probably like 4 or 5 of these so far, they've added 1-minute CDs to classes. Does a 1-minute CD feel good on Affliction and Destro? Is that something that, I mean, just in general, 1-minute CD is like probably the literal best timing of a cooldown in the entire game, but like, I just don't know if you have weird shit that doesn't line up. Yes, lines up with other CDs. In Affliction, also, your active Withers are acute, which, whatever the fuck that... Your haste is increased by 10%, and Malefic Rapture grants 1 additional stack of Wither to targets affected by UA. And then destruction, while corrupted, your active withers are acute. Your haste increased by 10%. Your chaos bolt grants 1 additional stack of wither. I don't know how warlocks work. I'm just gonna need you all to tell me if those things mean good or if those things are good. This is where we found out Malefic Rapture is still in the War Within Sag, but it'll be strong. Nice. Okay. I wonder if you'll still have Siphon Life, dude. Oh my god. I really hope. Or no, I think we got the last Affliction tree, right? We got, isn't Diabolist? Oh no, Diabolist was Destro and Demo. Okay, so we have the 2 Destro trees. So, dude, I really hope that Soul Harvester is Siphon Life based. Well, I don't really hope that, but I just, like, at the Agent of Chaos inside of me wants that to be the case. Okay, all right, we are on the last one. And then we'll add them to our rankings. Slayer. I have huge hopes for Slayer. I hope they brought Execute back. Dev note. Okay, we'll check the dev note. God, I'm so sad the Windwalker ones were that bad. Brutal. Where's the dev note? Fury will have access to Bladestorm via spec talents in the War Within. Oh, okay. I'm assuming that's where people were like, what the fuck? This doesn't apply to Fury. Okay, so Fury be spinning. Damn, the few times they've only had to mention things like, by the way, you don't have to stand in your D&D next expansion, and also, by the way, Fury will have Bladestorm. They've only had to mention these when that directly contradicts or makes one of these hero talents that they're releasing confusing. It sounds like they're making a fucking ton of changes, by the way, because the ones that they've noted are pretty significant, and they've only had to do that when it like directly contradicts with something. So can't wait for alpha, that's for sure. Let's see. Your attacks have a high chance to overwhelm your target's defenses and trigger a Slayer's Strike, dealing low damage and applying marked for execution, increasing the damage they take from your next execute by 10% stacks 3 times. So I'm not wowed by this right away. The dealing low damage thing is, the reason they're pointing that out is they just assumed that marked for execution is going to be the thing that is super, super sick. The question is, how often as Fury in Arms are you executing in your rotation? And is it going to be often enough to always have 3 stacks? And also they need to build something down here to where when you exceed 3 stacks, you get some kind of value from it. Or increase that amount. Okay, sudden death's chance to reset the cooldown of execute and make it usable on any target regardless of health is just increased no matter what. And using sudden death accelerates your next Bladestorm. Striking 1 additional time, Bladestorm's total duration is unchanged. Okay, so like AoE and single target, and your how many times does Bladestorm deal damage right now? How many strikes are in Bladestorm total right now? Dude, it's so funny. People are just making shit up. Seeing a lot of numbers from 5 to 8, and no one actually knows. Okay, so we're gonna go with 6. Okay, so it strikes 6 times. And because you're playing this, it's going to actually hit 9 times, so it'll do 50% more Bladestorm swings. So your Bladestorm's 50% stronger. Wow. Dude, Max, some guy just said it's 6 for Fury, like Fury even has it right now. Wait, someone did say that. Right now it's 6 for Fury. That's so fucking hype. I love making shit up. Making shit up goes crazy, man. You heal for 50% of the damage dealt by sudden death. So I'm assuming that's their defensive node. That could be actually really good, right? Is that the execute? No. Okay, that's actually sudden death. That's actually bad. If it's the execute that you do by sudden death, then that's big old healing. So, yeah. Okay. Marked for execution, which is probably something I'm not aware of. Marked for execution increases the crit strength chance and damage of your next execute on target by 5%. What is that? Oh, that's the free execute? Oh, this thing. Marked for execution, so it can stack 3 times. So not only will your execute do 30% more damage, but also its crit strike and damage will also be increased by 15%. The crit damage by 15% is pretty weak, but the crit strike chance is pretty huge. Let's see, going down the middle. Each strike of Bladestorm applies, which is why the strikes are relevant. Each strike of Bladestorm applies overwhelmed to all enemies affected, increasing damage taken by 1% for 10 seconds. So it would be, someone in chat clarified that Bladestorm does damage 7 times. So assuming that stays the same, it would actually be 10. So it'd be 10% damage taken for 10 seconds. So Bladestorm not only hits almost 50% more times, but it'll also give you a 10% damage increase for 10 seconds. Lit. Oh no, yeah, sorry. They clarified. It's only 6 for Fury right now. Let's see. Slayer strikes have a chance to reset the cooldown of Bloodthirst and Overpower. What the fuck is that? What are Slayer strikes? The top node? Oh, dude, there's so many different words in this. It's called Slayer's Dominance. It triggers Slayer strikes and gives you stacks of marked for execution. Come on, man. Just call it the first thing. Okay, let's see. Slayer strikes have a chance to reset the cooldown of Bloodthirst and Overpower. So that just depends. Like, basically, throughout your rotation, for Arms or Fury, will it feel good to have random resets on Bloodthirst and Overpower? I don't know. Cooldown of Overpower reduced by 10 or Bloodthirst reduced by 10. So do you want random resets or do you want passive? 10% CDR is so rough, though. I don't know. I think both of those don't feel awesome, but they're just, it's like a minor note, I guess. Overpower and Bloodthirst have a chance to cause you to unleash a brief Bladestorm. Oh, okay. We're going way into Bladestorm. I thought this was going to be more execute based, and it certainly is, but they're like doing heavy Bladestorm synergy here. Overpower and Bloodthirst have a chance to cause you to unleash a brief Bladestorm, striking all enemies around you once, and you can now use Pummel and Stormbolt while Bladestorming. Okay, so I was just about to say, imagine you're about to kick something, and then you're just randomly Bladestorming, and you can't, and then you get fucked. But just in general, being able to use utility while Bladestorming is sick. I wonder why they stopped at Stormbolt. I wonder why that doesn't also include other forms of CC, like Shockwave or something. On the right, Charge removes all movement impairing effects and grants you 70% movement speed for 3 seconds. Does that include roots? So Charge is a freedom? That's good in PvE too, depending on the fight. And Heroic Leap reduces the cooldown of Charge by 5 seconds, and Charge reduces the cooldown of Heroic Leap by 5 seconds. So if they ever make Razageth again, but they increase the amount of knockbacks by like 3 times, Warriors will be the only class that can possibly live the knockback. So they're set up for that too. DK, maybe with that one talent that gives you the free movement speed thing. Time Spiral. Oh, by the way, wait, does Time Spiral give you a free use of Death's Advance? It does, right? So it would give you the Rider of the Apocalypse version. Oh my fucking god. That is by far the best button that Time Spiral reduces now, right? I mean, it's like way fucking better than everything else. Okay. Cool. Your auto attack speed increases while you are in combat. Changing targets resets this effect. Okay, single target. And execute increases your auto attack speed for 10 seconds. By how much? Your auto attack speed increases while you're in combat, and changing targets resets this effect. I mean, is it literally just raid versus Mythic Plus? Is it pure single target versus target swapping? It's literally called tunnel vision. Okay. And last one to pull it together before the capstone. That doesn't seem right. Isn't it the exact same thing? Is that what it said on the... It's a Wowhead diff, Wowhead diff, Wowhead diff, Wowhead diff. It's overpowered damage by 10% in Bloodthirst, and this one's CDR. Okay. Still, man, so I don't know if the capstone's going to tie it all together here, but you can tell the quality of these trees and how many ideas they had by how many nodes they have to put in that say shit like this. Go back to the Splinter tree, go back to Spell Slinger, and see how many times they have to just have some basic ass shit, like just giving you some really, really minor thing like this. You could just bake, I don't know. Some people have pointed out that having these nodes is very specific because it's the tuning knob. Like, if they know they want you to focus on Overpower and Bloodthirst, obviously, and Execute and Bladestorm as Slayer, those are the things you can buff if Slayer is underperforming compared to the other options, right? All right, last one. When you execute a target that you've marked for execution, reduce the cooldown of Bladestorm by 5 seconds per stack of marked for execution, and apply stacks of Overwhelmed equal to the number of stacks of marked for execution the target have. What is Overwhelmed again? Dude, so many words. Second middle. Oh, Overwhelm. Oh, I see. Each strike of Bladestorm implies Overwhelmed, increasing 1 for 10 seconds, and this does, for every single one, it'll also give them that many stacks. I mean, you're definitely not wowed by this tree, right? I think they have the right idea. It's like, the Execute Bladestorm synergy sounds good. The quality of life of being able to do things in Bladestorm is good. But there's just a couple of nodes that just seem like they're not really taking you anywhere. But it's not bad. This is not a bad tree. Wait, Overwhelmed buffs everyone? Wait. Oh, that's... I don't think that's how that works. That is what it says. Ain't no way. Ain't no fucking way your entire raid would just be Fury Warriors. That would be completely broken. Yeah. What he's saying is, it does say each type of Bladestorm increases the damage they take by whatever percent, let's say 10%. And it doesn't necessarily say increases your damage. It just says that they increase damage taken. Warrior utility? Yeah, utility. We can call it utility. Just bring the spinning boys. Dude, they gave 12 today. That's crazy. Yeah, there weren't as many... There were like as many bangers today as there were the last time, but they released 4 less trees.